Yeah.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Fat Minute live from the Donatorium. I am your host, Don John, and I ain't wearing any pants. I'm joined tonight by my equally naked co-host, BVJ.
And I am wearing his pants.
A little big on you, I imagine. We're also joined tonight by returning guest, good friend of the show, Michael Whedon.
Hello.
Mike, are you wearing pants?
Uh, they're the equivalent
You're
of
taking way
80
you're
short
you're taking
shorts.
way too long to think about this.
I was trying to come up with a zinger. I'm
Can
sorry.
can people
I'm sorry I failed.
can people see my dingleberries? No, but are they out? Yes.
Y'all want a can of purple?
God.
You know it's too tight when you can see your taint.
Hmm.
Wow. Okay. I need this moment to end.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry.
Well, we're continuing on with our discussion, our retrospective of the 2010s, and we're going right into it with the year 2014. And fuck, what a fucking dumpster fire of a year this year was. We're gonna jump right into it with some news events. We're gonna start off with a fun one that hit all the headlines of 2014: the Ebola epidemic that was going on in the western part of Africa. Um, yeah, I remember when we all got scared about that potentially coming over here. We did have a couple cases make their way over here, didn't we?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we had 4 cases, but only one of them died. Which that still sucks that anybody died. But as far as stuff like that goes, we had it pretty mild over here. But the majority of the epidemic, the outbreak, was in West Africa.
Right.
And it's just kind of I remember when the COVID pandemic started last year, this was like one of the first things a lot of people went to was, how come we didn't shut down when, Ebola happened? And it's just like because only 4 cases came over here,
Yeah.
and those 4 cases were locked down fucking tight, and that's kind of why there were only 4 cases over here.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it was just one of those cases where a lot of people just kind of ignored context and whatnot. Um, yeah, I just remember this being like because in my opinion, Ebola is fucking scarier than COVID. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want either, but if I had to choose one, I would take COVID over fucking Ebola any day.
Right.
Um, so I remember this being like really, for a second, people were like, "What if this fucking comes over here? What happens?" But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just pass it off to you, Mike.
Silly question, but I heard someone say that Ebola makes you shit out your insides literally. I don't know if that's true.
Um, I mean, I know like severe diarrhea and whatnot is a symptom of it. Whether or not it gets to that point, I don't know, but
Yeah. I have no idea.
I mean,
But
basically, literally, like everything just shuts down. It's like the flu on steroids. You got the fever, the sore throat, the fatigue, like you get everything, and it's just it. Usually, you die from fluid loss is what usually gets
uh,
you.
Yeah.
yeah. No, I remember people talking about it. I mean, as terrible as it sounds, but I guess it kind of uh, commends that we we controlled it and it didn't spread as badly. I feel like I heard more jokes than actual like tragedy.
Right.
So
Right.
I mean, I guess in the sake of comedy, that's a good like uplifting thing. I remember just out of context. I think I don't think Vine wasn't still a thing in 2014, was it?
No, actually, 2014 Vine was probably peaking at that point.
Okay. Well, it might have just been like a YouTube short, but I remember seeing a family and like they were like giving their 4-year-old son like they were taking his temperature and the mom said like, "Oh, he's 99 point blah blah blah." And the dad just goes, "Oh man, he got Ebola." And just the little boy just starts bawling his eyes out. It's the
I forgot all
funniest
about
thing
that video.
ever.
That video fucking had me screaming the first time I saw it. Oh hell no! This little guy's got Ebola.
And that kid like straight up like believed him and just
Yeah.
started bawling. Oh, it was terrible. But I don't know. It's just it's you kind of look at this and you compare it to COVID, and you're just like, huh, well, I guess people in the government in 2014, actually took an epidemic seriously.
Huh, so
Yeah,
that's what it was like having an adult in charge.
Yeah. Or, actually believed it was real.
Yeah.
I'm posting that video to the Twitter right now.
Oh.
Oh, hell no. He's got Ebola.
I just
Just, whoa.
um I'm sorry, I'm playing it right now real quick.
Uh,
What is temperature? Oh, hell no.
oh, that's a classic.
I'm not too proud of the fact that 2/3 of this podcast is laughing out loud at the idea of a child screaming for his life, but okay.
Well, like I said though, there wasn't that many cases, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Right, right.
It's all in the spirit of fun.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I mean, I still thought some coronavirus jokes were funny, so go figure. But
I mean, I thought the jokes about Donald Trump getting coronavirus was funny.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
I mean, my favorite was still when Dave Chappelle said they took him to Walter Reed Hospital. Now, I'm not sure if you're too familiar with, Washington D.C., but Walter Reed isn't that close to the White House, but you could walk.
The thing that like stuck out to me the most about Ebola, the Ebola outbreak in 2014, because I didn't know this until I started seeing it in the news. Like dead bodies, people who have died from Ebola remain infectious even after they die. Like there's a whole like
Yeah,
procedure you have to go through when you're like burying somebody who died from Ebola to make sure it doesn't spread even after they fucking die, and that's fucking crazy to me.
Yeah.
they probably just burn the bodies in like third world countries and stuff.
Apparently Ebola is a very its existence is very aggressive. Like it truly does fight to continue existing.
Yeah.
Like most viruses do, I guess, but Ebola is very persistent. I hear, like like you said. But
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, whew, I mean, yeah, I got to side with Mike on this one. I remember more so like the memes around it more so than there being actual cases itself, which I think that is a very good point. Like, you know, last year, sure, there were comedic jokes around COVID-19, but then I mean, you turned on the news, you went on, you turned on anything, it was like, oh wow, like no, there's a lot of people dying from this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm thankful that we had a president who had institutions and organizations around the entire world designed to prevent something like this happening, only for them to then be shut down by the next president out of spite. So yeah, I mean, it's a whole other level of petty and spiteful to, I mean, make the entire world more vulnerable to something horrible happening just to give the previous guy a middle finger. But yeah, I mean, that's all I have to say about it personally.
All right. Well, then let's move on to our next major event of 2014, the Flint water crisis. Basically started in 2014 and lasted until 2019. 5 fucking years. This whole community had basically the too long didn't read. They had lead and Legionnaire's disease in their water supply, all because the city basically they had a budget crisis. They changed their water source from the treated water and sewage department that they were originally using, and then moved it to the Flint River. And I mean, immediately people were complaining about the taste, the smell, and everything. Just like this water is not like good. You could just tell by looking at it, smelling it. And I mean, it turned out that a lot of the officials in charge of this stuff, they failed to follow the proper safety protocols when they, made these pipelines and everything, and it resulted in a lot of lead from the aging pipes to leach into the water supply, and it's just crazy the level of, I guess, incompetence and neglect that went on in this situation, and how long it fucking took for any sort of action to be done about it. I
So
mean,
it's over now.
according to Wikipedia, it is. I mean, as far as they replaced. Let's see here. They've pretty much replaced the pipes, but they're still like the criminal case against the governor and 8 other officials is still going on. Like they just charged them like in January of this year. 2 of them were charged with involuntary manslaughter.
Mm,
Give you an idea of how high they're going with that.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, their governor was Rick Snyder, and
Yep.
I thought to myself, "Wow, that guy's allowed to keep his job."
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
And was he the one that went in front of the Senate saying like, "I'm drinking water from there right now," and it's just like, yeah, there's no way that's fucking Flint water. That's way too clean.
yeah, I think that was him.
Yeah. Eh,
Uh,
just what a fucking mess this whole thing was, and just how long it took for one, for anybody to actually give a shit about it, and then 2, for anything to be done about it. Like, Jesus Christ.
yeah,
But Mike, what do you got to say?
Uh, Not too much. I mean, you guys pretty much put the nail on the head. It's just I just think it's pretty sick that, normal common American people like aren't even safe turning on their freaking water. So,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
it's just that situation all in all is just fucked. And
yeah.
I feel terrible for the people that went through that, and the the powers of that area should be ashamed of themselves.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember it was a thing for a while that like Elon Musk kept promising that he was going to devote um, you know, time and money and energy and resources to trying to fix it, and then it just never happened. And it was like, oh, okay, well, there's just more lip service from Elon Musk.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, the governor should honestly be in jail. So I mean, I can't imagine
Yeah.
poisoning an entire water supply and then just continuing to keep your job. I don't think he's the guy. Obviously, he's not the governor anymore. Um, his his successor was actually uh, she almost got kidnapped last year. Does anybody else
Yeah.
remember that? Like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
like MAGA Trump people were like threatening to like kidnap her and shit. It was like Jesus Christ. Which, I mean,
Jeez.
I can't imagine the 2020 episode if we eventually ever do that. But yeah, no, that's just shameful and depressing, really. Yeah, I didn't know that it like um I guess declined at least a little bit. I thought it was still pretty bad, or I honestly I was kind of under the impression that the damage was just kind of irreversible, but hopefully it's a little bit better up there.
Yeah. I'm just reading through the Wikipedia article, like the timeline of the whole thing, just
Yeah.
seeing where they do stand and as far as like the lead pipes, like whether they've got them all replaced, most of them replaced, how many, all that. Um,
I mean, if we're able to have 3 dudes have a space race with each other, we could, afford to do that.
right?
But
I mean, it's only the richest country in the history of the world.
yeah,
But whatever.
yeah.
Well, we'll move on to our next newsworthy event of 2014. We're rolling on with the happy ones here. The rise of ISIS.
This is going to be a long fucking segment.
I told you it was a dumpster fire this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, technically ISIS had been around since like 98, 99, but they had pretty much just been like a part of Al Qaeda the entire time.
Hmm.
But in 2013, 2014, there was some power struggle going on, and they basically broke off from Al Qaeda. And literally, like less than a year after we were finally like, okay, we're done with Iraq, we're pulling out of Iraq, they damn near overthrew the entire Iraqi government, causing us to go back to Iraq. And I mean, they've been causing fucking problems over that whole area of the world ever since, with Iraq and Syria and just all of that. And we're still chasing after that group to this day. And it's just crazy that like there's a maybe I'm being a little too naive here, but I feel like there's a very easy solution to ISIS, and that is a international coalition. Just hits them hard and hits them quick. But for some reason, we ain't doing that. We're just kind of running around in the desert, just hoping we get it right one day, and it just doesn't seem to be working.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's pretty bad when. I mean, to give you an idea of how fucking crazy ISIS is and how fucked they are, it's pretty bad when fucking Al Qaeda is like, we want nothing to do with those guys. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people don't take into consideration.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you guys. I know you haven't, Blake, but I've seen some of the videos ISIS has uploaded to the internet. It ain't fun.
I have not. I have not.
It ain't fun.
I remember uh, a one friend that used to exist in the group before you was bringing it up one time at Kogel's, and it's like, yo, Zach, you need to do something about this because that guy's gonna get the FBI knocking on your door one day. But yeah, no. I remember a huge thing was they kept having like Toyota trucks that were like extremely new. Like they were rather new. So it got to a point where it's like, hey Toyota, is there something you want to tell us? Like but yeah, no. But they kept having like almost caravans of yeah, like Toyota trucks that were not old. They were rather recent, fresh models. But no, it's yeah, no, it's a dumpster fire, Donnie. I forgot. I almost forgot how bad this year was.
Yeah.
But I guess they're all bad. Shit.
What do you guys say, Mike?
Not too much. I remember seeing something, and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know the name, so I'm just kind of paraphrasing. But wasn't the whole deal was when after 9/11 happened and we were, in Iraq because, reasons. And the whole thing is that the government accused, I believe, an Iraqi nationalist slash terrorist or whatever, I can't remember his name, of being associated with Osama bin Laden, and that was like one of their big reasons for being in Iraq, and because like we pursued him and went after him, he was one of the like founding members of ISIS. So it's kind of basically like we indirectly created ISIS.
It's the problem is just the whole Iraq war and just the whole Bush propaganda campaign behind it really muddled a lot of like events together.
Yeah.
So like we didn't really go to Iraq because I mean there were accusations that Saddam Hussein had ties to Al Qaeda, but those were never proven.
Yeah.
The main reason we went to Iraq was because of accusations that Saddam Hussein had quote unquote weapons of mass destruction, which was disproven entirely, pretty much. I mean, just propaganda and false information just really confused that whole situation and several situations taking place over there.
Yeah, it's been a mess there, and I'll honestly be glad when they pull the troops out of there in the fall, hopefully,
Yeah.
because it's just, I don't know, it's all, not to sound mean, but it's always something in the Middle East.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it's there's always something going on there, and a lot of it is because dating back to like World War One, a lot of it is because us and a lot of other countries just can't fucking keep our nose out of their business.
Yeah,
Like 100 years later, we still are like failing to grasp the geopolitical climate going on in that part of the world, and just going in thinking we can just do whatever and it'll eventually be okay, and that's not the case.
yeah,
Like there comes a point to where we got to let these guys like figure out their own destiny for better or for worse.
yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Blake?
No, I basically said all I had to say. Yeah, no, that's
Bob
about
was
it for me.
listening.
But
Well, I was listening.
All right, we're going to move on to the next major event of 2014. The rise of Black Lives Matter. Specifically, Black Lives Matter had kind of been around a little bit before this, but it really took a much more mainstream um, appearance with the shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. He was an 18-year-old who was shot by a white police officer. And the police officer said the altercation happened when Michael Brown attacked the police officer in his vehicle for control of the officer's gun until it was fired. And the officer, of course, said that there's actually a couple officers saying that, basically he tried to attack the police officer, get control of his gun. But, of course, a lot of other testimonies and stuff like that have kind of contradicted a lot of these statements. A subsequent FBI investigation found that there was no evidence that Brown had his hands up in surrender or said don't shoot before he was shot. However, protesters claimed that he has done so and later used the slogan hands up, don't shoot. It's just a lot of, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this was before, this was also kind of what started the whole thing with cops having body cams, right? Because they didn't really do that before this, right? Or am I wrong on that?
I don't think it had become as mainstream yet.
Right. Like I think maybe like a
Yeah.
couple areas were in the country were doing it, but this this was what really caused it to be like, like you said, like mainstream.
Right.
And because of the situation, it was a lot of, the police were saying he was doing this, whereas, other people who, eyewitnesses at the scene were saying he did do this, there was no reason to shoot him. And this is where, the Black Lives Matter movement really took off. And still to this day, it's going on, and we're still having a lot of these discussions, even with what little progress there has been made in law enforcement in
Yeah.
terms of the body cams and stuff like that. We're still having these discussions, and we're still seeing this stuff happen. And like we're seeing this stuff happen in less muddied circumstances, whereas with Michael Brown, it is a lot of he said, she said. But we're seeing incidents where fucking George Floyd. We
Right.
watched the man be murdered on camera, and we still had to wait like a whole fucking year before the guy who did it went to trial.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's just crazy how this stuff's still going on, and it has, in some ways there's been progress, in other ways there hasn't, and in some ways it feels like there's been a decline.
Right.
It's just insane to look back on this and see where we started and where we're currently at with all of this.
Yeah.
But Mike, you go ahead.
Yeah, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. I will be honest. I don't know as much about this case as I do about George Floyd's.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I kind of looked into that one a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But I just honestly, it's you. I could make a whole podcast going like ranting about the failure of law enforcement for the past 40 years, but
Mm-hmm.
that's a I could beat that dead horse to dust.
I
But
remember the main thing the main thing about this one that caused a lot of the protest was there was the agreement that at some point Michael Brown had stopped and fled, and the officer chased after him, and then the officer stated that Michael Brown had charged him, and the big thing was that whether he charged him or not, the officer shot him. I think how many times was he shot? He was shot 6 times, but the officer had a taser on him, and there was no like the officer never gave like a really satisfactory answer for like why didn't you use the taser instead of shooting him, especially considering he was unarmed, and that was the main spark of the protest was, he was unarmed. You had plenty of distance between you. Why didn't you use the taser?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're right. Just law enforcement over the past 40 years is just a giant fucking mess.
Yeah. And I mean, I can't say that I've been in life-threatening situations, really. I haven't, not really, but the layman part of me wants to say, like, a person's charging at you unarmed. Are you that big of a pussy that you have to shoot him 6 times?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the way I see it.
Yeah. I mean, there was, I don't know if any of you all saw it. There was recent footage of a cop shooting what was it a raccoon or was it a skunk or something in the middle
I
of the
think
highway? Like
I think I think
several
I think I sent you that video. It was a beaver, I think.
a beaver. There was a beaver in the middle of the highway, and the cop was like running around it, acting all like skittish or whatever, and then he shot it like several times.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why and how are you a cop?
And
Like,
keep in mind the highway was like, I mean, he had traffic stop, but there was, cars, quite a lot of cars on both sides of the road. You know, it's pulling a gun out like that on a crowded highway. That's kind of
yeah.
sketchy in and of itself.
At that point, just be like, all right, y'all, just go. Like, if you run it over, you run it over. Like, I don't know what that was about, but um,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's like what Michael said. You can almost have an entire podcast about this very subject. I just remember so much how, like, back then, people with Black Lives Matter, well, I mean, they still did, people got so hung up on the name. And it was just merely the point was Black Lives Matter too, Black Lives Matter also. And,
Yeah.
Or just matter in general.
right,
Yeah.
right,
Well, and I will say, like, for like a fat minute, no pun intended. I will say, even I'm kind of guilty. Like, when I first heard that phrase, I was just like, I wish we could just live in a world where all lives matter. But then when I thought about it, and I saw, I forget who it was, somebody posted it, and I thought it was perfect, and like it made like 100% sense to me. It said, all lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter. And
right,
like that's to me, like that's what this movement means.
Mhm.
right,
And like
right,
that's it to a T. Yeah.
right. And yeah, and just even as recent as last year, like, Mike, you should be given credit that, you know, it didn't take you last year to understand that, but even just last year, so many people were still misunderstanding it and like not getting over um the point. And God, I had it and then I lost it. But
And then you have Blue Lives Matter.
well, no,
Yeah.
that's it.
Ooh.
The whole response, the whole reaction, even as just 8, 9, 10 months ago, um, all lives matter seems to never be a response to blue lives matter. It's only ever a response to black lives matter. Then like
Right.
then it's like the word that offends you is the word black, which you explain that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and Mike, that isn't me to you. That's me to too many other people just last year.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but and it's like what Dave Chappelle said. Like, sure, it wasn't the best name, but McDonald's already took You Deserve a Break today. Um,
Yeah.
um,
But yeah.
and I'm glad you brought it up for this year, Donnie, because it completely defeats the narrative that like Candace Owens said that Black Lives Matter only ever shows up on presidential election years to cause a stink, to stir the pot or whatever. And it's like, well, 2014 wasn't a presidential election year, so Candace Owens, what the hell are you talking about?
Well,
Um,
Candace Owens a dumb fucking cunt, so there we go.
Jesus Christ.
Dude, fuck her.
Her job is to say things that are almost too racist for even white people to say.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's her entire shtick.
That
But,
that's that's a subject I can have an entire fucking podcast on, is how much of a fucking cunt Candace Owen is. And how
Who
fucking and how fucking stupid she is too. Like,
who
it's
who
one
is
it's
she again?
she's a I'm using the term loosely here, political commentator on Twitter. I think is she employed by Fox News, or is she just happened to appear there sometimes?
She's a regular.
Okay.
I think mainly she does work through Turning Point USA, which is the Charlie Kirk
Yeah.
organization or whatever, and
Okay.
and I think she'll like appear throughout the Daily Wire and yeah, like all those the Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder, the people that like aren't are still not good enough to actually be like on Fox News
Yeah.
permanently. They're basically just the bench warmers. So yeah,
Is she basically like
she's
that Tommy Lauren girl or whatever?
Candace Owens is African American, so that like
Oh.
kind of yeah, so that like creates an entire um angle for her is that she's like, you know,
So
people are able to
she's like Sam Jackson from Django Unchained.
Jesus Christ.
Woof. That comparison has been made quite a lot on Twitter. Yes.
She her shtick is basically to allow certain white people to point at her and go, "See, I can't be racist because she agrees with me."
Oh God.
I like it's one thing to like have those kind of opinions, but it's like she's like a completely different level of fucking stupid. Like, not to get too off track here, but I will never forget like when it was like right after Meghan Markle and uh, Prince Harry had that interview with Oprah about, you know, how the monarchy in England is pretty fucking racist. And I remember Candace Owens tweeted something along the lines of, you know, she's like less than 25% black and her kid is only like this percent black, so it's not about race. And I'm just like, I never thought I'd see the day where in 2021, in the 21st century, an African American woman has to be reminded of Plessy versus Ferguson.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Or Loving versus Virginia, how they, you know, the state didn't want them to be able to have a child,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is just like,
Yeah, they made a movie about that recently, didn't they?
yeah, with Joel Edgerton, and
Yeah.
it's like Candace Owens, like the crazy thing about that point where she's like, oh yeah, like their child would only be like 13% black or whatever, so it doesn't count. Like, you know who even doesn't like? Do you think for a second racist people give a shit about percentages and numbers? Like,
Yeah.
if they want to be racist, they're going to be fucking racist.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
her, yeah, it's like what Donnie said. It's completely stupid. You could almost turn this into a whole other episode. I'm going to try to calm down. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm gonna stop that there, and we're gonna move on to our next event of 2014. This one's a bit of a happier one. The One World Trade Center opened finally, 13 years after the 9/11 attacks. The rebuilt World Trade Center building finally reopened, and you know, there's not really much to say other than just that it was just kind of like a, you know, I guess finally a sort of a sense of healing and moving on from that event. Um, I just remember, you know, seeing it on the news, seeing all that. And yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just one of those things. There's just not a whole lot to say other than it. You know, we finally rebuilt. We finally, I guess, rose above, and we finally moved on, and we finally, you know, in a way, healed. Maybe not completely, but it's something. I'll go
Yeah.
ahead and bounce the ball to you, Mike.
Yeah. I feel the same way. You know, it's it's kind of sad that, you know, it took that long to kind of get it up and standing, but I guess, you know, they just kind of, you know, waited out of respect and mourning of, you know, the people we lost. Um, yeah, I mean, I was always kind of one of those people paranoid, like, oh, is anything ever going to happen to that one? Like, knock on wood, you know.
Hmm.
Don't want it to, but um, maybe one day they'll film a new teaser trailer for a Spider-Man movie and not have to worry about taking it down.
Jeez.
There's a reference for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an obscure nerd reference for you.
Only the real ones know.
Yeah, only Toby's boys know.
Toby's Boys. It's the official fan club of Toby Maguire. Toby's Boys.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
I
mean,
don't,
as
I don't care about that bully McGuire shit. Toby's my boy.
As for me, I mean, I think it is nice that they, were able to finally do it. Um, I I almost have no idea what that thing looks like. Like I never see anyone reference it or use it, or
Yeah,
like I never see a picture of it.
Yeah,
But
that
no,
is weird. I didn't realize that until you just said it. Like, yeah, you don't really see anything about it.
yeah, like you'll see random like aesthetic pictures of the Golden Gate Bridge or the
yeah.
Statue of Liberty. Nobody ever bothers to take a picture of this thing, and I don't know why, but
I don't know. I don't know if they're like me and they're afraid they're gonna jinx it if they show it too much or something. I don't know.
yeah, yeah,
But no, like especially like if you ever notice like a lot of old movies I've watched, like especially like in the 80s and early 90s, there were so many movies that took place in New York City, and there were so many like tracking and like huge wide shots of the World Trade Center.
yeah.
Hmm.
Like
Escape,
they
Escape
hardly
from New York. Yeah,
yeah, and like just different things like the opening shot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is the World Trade Center.
yeah,
You see it a lot in the first Ghostbusters. Just, I don't know. Yeah, it was just kind of. I mean, a lot of people think of like the Empire State Building or like the Statue of Liberty, but really, like the World Trade Centers was like it was kind of that like that epicenter of
yeah,
Manhattan and stuff.
yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Um,
but no, like newer. If you think of like newer movies and media that takes place in New York City, you never see it.
yeah, yeah. Well, no, yeah. That adds to my point. Like
Yeah.
nobody ever bothers like shooting it, um,
Yeah.
filming it, I should say. Um, but no, I mean, it reminds me. I don't know why, but I'd like to mention this. It reminds me of this TikTok that I kind of became obsessed with. That was like, what's one of your favorite historical domino effects? And this guy started going how, on a ferry from Manhattan Island to I forget what other borough he was going to, but Gerard Way had witnessed 9/11 happen, like while he was on the boat. And he then went on to base My Chemical Romance, the aesthetic and emotional tone and mood, on his trauma of that day. And then, from My Chemical Romance, Stephanie Meyer was inspired to write, Twilight, based on, I guess like how she feels when she would listen to their music. And then from that, you had the fan fiction of, God, whatever the woman
50
is who
Shades
wrote
of Grey.
50
50
Shades
Shades
of
of Grey.
Grey, because she wrote, yeah, and that's how 50 Shades of Grey started out. It was her writing a fan fiction of Twilight. So then, thus, ultimately, 9/11 caused 50 Shades of Grey.
Jesus
Thanks,
Christ.
Obama.
That
I had to say it.
Yeah.
that I think that gave me cancer.
It's like, God damn it.
Weed is for
Well,
the people. It's the people's weed.
let's move on to our last news event of 2014. What became known as the Cuban Thaw, which was Barack Obama visiting Cuba and reopening Cuba-United States relations. Basically, ending a 54-year stretch of hostility between us. And I mean, I know Obama didn't actually visit Cuba until 2016, and we can maybe talk about that a little bit more in the 2016 episode. But this was the year when like the talks started, and when we started opening things back up again. And I mean, it was honestly pretty cool to see it, just like because I remember growing up and just always hearing how us and Cuba are just like kind of at each other's throats and don't like each other and stuff like that. And as a kid, I was always just kind of like, why? Like, I know we didn't have the greatest relationship with them, with the Cuban Missile Crisis and all that stuff, but I mean, like, that was so long ago, and nothing else has really happened since then. And it's just kind of like, why are we still like maintaining this hostility between each other? Um, so it was definitely cool to just kind of see like some sort of positivity, some sort of progress happening, amongst two nations that historically have not been cool with each other. Um, it, it was a nice change of pace, and it was definitely a change of pace that 2014 needed compared to everything else we talked about tonight.
Yeah.
But I'll go ahead and bounce to you, Mike.
Yeah, it's. I will say I don't know a whole lot about like the itty gritty details of it, but that's awesome. It's like I wish more countries got along with us. It's like it's great to have peace with a former enemy. It's like it's glad to move on over something that happened decades ago. I'm pretty sure Cuba's happy that Magneto's now in his plastic prison, so that probably helps.
Wasn't there a statistic where not even that long ago they didn't even have microwaves in Cuba?
I don't know about that.
Oh,
I think they're afraid Magneto would like make them blow up
what is up with Magneto in Cuba?
because of
First
X-Men
class.
First Class.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
He almost
I
blew
mean,
him. He almost blew him up.
I'm
It's
just,
like,
I'm just
but when they found out, America captured him and put him in his plastic prison, they're okay.
I mean, if it wasn't for Barack Obama, we wouldn't have been able to have the opening scene in The Fate of the Furious take place in Cuba.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. And
But no, that is cool. That
Dom
is cool.
gave his cousin his Impala,
That's right.
and he beat a guy in a race with a Coke can tab.
God, I can't wait to talk about Donnie's favorite movie next year, Furious 7.
Oh.
Oh, I'll just tell you, Donnie, if you don't like Fury 7, I saw Fast 9 yesterday. Yeah. There's a new meaning to nuke in the fridge. It's
Donnie,
it's driving the Pontiac to space.
yeah, Donnie already knows they go to space in this one.
Yeah. And that's not even the worst part.
The fucking next movie, I swear to God, they're gonna form their fucking cars together like the fucking Megazord.
They're just gonna like cheaply show the footage from Turbo, a Power Rangers movie.
Yeah.
I hear in this one they really do like kind of embrace and really fall face first into the whole memes of what everyone's been accusing them of over the years. And I heard that there's like a running joke where oh God, who's not Ludacris, but the guy who's always making jokes with them. I forget his name,
Tyrese
Mike.
Gibson.
Tyrese Gibson. Apparently, Tyrese Gibson has a running like gag
Yeah.
where he's like, "There's no way we would be able to survive everything we've survived up to this point. We have to literally be superheroes."
Yeah, they try to make some meta jokes, but it's just at this point it's a little too late.
Yeah, yeah.
But let's get back to the Cuban thaw. Blake, what do you got to say about that?
I mean, I think that is yeah. I mean, it was nice to have a guy that tried to do shit like that still.
Yeah.
And then, but then, like when Donald Trump tried to do his version of it, he saluted North Korean generals, and it's like, whoa, buddy, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you go in the wrong direction there.
Yeah. Yeah. Fucking. Not only that, Donald Trump pretty much reversed literally everything Obama did with Cuba, and it was just like, sir, you're doing this wrong. I think you got this mixed up.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, once again, went over to North Korea and saluted them, and it's like, yep, he literally became the joke of when your girlfriend has a twin sister, so you get confused and fuck their dad. But
Yeah.
no, that's all I got to say there.
All right. Well, then let's move on to the fun stuff of 2014. Talk about movies. We'll start there. First movie, Muppets Most Wanted. Why are you laughing?
Because it was funny.
I mean, you're right. I've always felt like that the fact that the Muppets aren't like really as much of a thing anymore is kind of disappointing because I mean I'm a fan of the Muppets and I'm just a fan of that like kind of I guess genre and style in general. I've always felt like Jim Henson's work has kind of become a lost art at this point. And I mean you just look at a lot of the stuff that Jim Henson and his work created, and a lot of it looks better than a lot of CGI movies today.
Yeah.
But I mean, Muppets Most Wanted. It was weird. Like during these couple of years, they really tried to make the Muppets come back because this was a sequel, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a sequel
Yeah.
to the 2011 like revival.
Yeah, and then on top of those two movies, they had that TV show on ABC. But for some reason, none of that stuff just didn't really seem to stick for some reason. And I
The
just
Oh, sorry, Donnie, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
The 2011 reboot with Jason Segel and Amy Adams actually did do well, but then for some reason, like right after that, people were like, okay, like we had one Muppet movie after 20 years, we're good now. Like
Yeah.
I don't know why people got burned out already right away.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was fun. I thought it was funny. Um, like I said, it's just definitely a shame that, like you said, everybody's just kind of like, all right, that's enough Muppets for the next couple decades. But I'll go ahead and leave it there. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I really liked Muppets Most Wanted. I will say I actually didn't see the previous one with Jason Segel.
I feel like I did,
I'll
but
have to
I
get
don't
around
remember.
to it.
I feel like I did see it, but I don't remember it at all.
It was way better. Like nothing against this movie, but that first one with Jason Segel was actually really good.
Okay. I mean, I've only seen it that one time. I remember we all went and saw it in theaters. I do remember it. It was funny. The main thing I remember is like the memes it created with like the Kermit doppelganger that's wearing the hood and he's like a Russian spy or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. And like what's her name? Tina Fey is like the one. She's like a Russian guard, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it was funny, for what it was. I wasn't the biggest Muppet fan when I was a kid, but I watched it. If anything, my jam was like Muppet Babies, that cartoon in the '90s.
Yeah,
That was pretty good. That was a pretty
I
good one.
mean, you know what? You know what? Jim Henson work was my jam as a kid. Fucking dinosaurs.
Yeah. Not the mama.
Oh my god.
But it got real there. But yeah, no, I remember really the one. Honestly, the Muppets one that always stuck out to me was Muppet Treasure Island. I always thought that one was kind of cool because for some reason, as goofy as it was, like they had fucking Tim Curry as Long John Silver, and I'm like, Tim Curry is a legit Long John Silver. But
Yeah.
then he's like fucking sword fighting Kermit. Not bad for an amphibian. But uh, uh, Muppets Most Wanted, yeah, it was cool. Maybe the popularity fleeted because like nostalgic parents took their kids to see the Muppets, and the kids are like, oh, I want to watch more Muppets. It's like, oh, let's just watch the old ones, and then
That's fair.
the new show didn't last. I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah.
I liked it.
It's actually a decent theory.
Maybe.
Go ahead, Blake.
My favorite thing around this movie was the marketing campaign leading up to it because they had a TV spot that mocked how a lot of other movies were using Twitter reviews in their TV spots. Like I guess some movies, and I think Edge of Tomorrow that we'll talk about eventually tried to do it too, where it's like, don't show them like the snobs at all the newspapers. Show them, what real people are saying about it. Real, authentic, actual Joe Schmoes and normal people are saying online. But then after a while, like it was just kind of dumb that movies were doing that now, and they were like, there was a Muppets Most Wanted TV spot that was just using that fancy like Academy Award announcer quoting a Twitter fight between two random people, and it's like Fuzzy Bean 11 said Muppets should have been nominated, and then Frosty Soup Can said it can't be, it's not out yet, you're ignorant. How like they have autocorrect or whatever. It's like, don't call me ignorant, you don't even know. And the guy goes, yeah, I don't even want to know. And he doesn't spell it like as in I know. He spells it as in the answer is no.
I
But
know.
it's just with that announcer voice. It was like, okay, this was actually pretty funny. Movie itself, it was all right. Like I said, the first one with Jason Segel. Well, he actually helped write the first one. Like that was a passion project for him. Which
Yeah.
Jason
We
Segel-
should have seen coming from forgetting Sarah Marshall because he had like the puppet Dracula.
Yes, exactly. Like he is like that in real life. And then I know I keep trying to talk about anything else but the movie itself, but he had a puppet of himself for the first Muppets movie he did. Well, it was the only one he did, the first of this timeline, I guess you could say. But and he got it mixed up with somebody else's bag at the airport. And his joke on Conan was, just imagine coming home from the airport after a very long trip. You open up your bag, and all of a sudden there's a Jason Segel Muppet just staring at you.
Might give someone a heart attack.
But no, it was funny. But yeah, it's not too memorable. That's all I gotta say.
All right, now I'll move on to the next movie, Transcendence.
Woof.
What a
God.
boring fucking movie. Like, and it's just like, I feel like they like went out of their way to make this movie fucking boring. Like, you have Johnny Depp in like a pretty cool big budget, sci-fi movie, and it's just like nothing fucking happens. And it's even after watching this fucking movie, I couldn't tell you what the fuck the plot was. Like, something with plants and a bunch of nanomachines, and Johnny Depp's like some sort of like swarm hive mind thing now. Like, it was just a boring fucking messy movie, and oof, that's all I gotta say. Go ahead, Mike.
Where to start? I was actually mildly excited for this movie when going in because, it was Wally Feister's, directorial debut. And for those of you who don't know who that is the guy who's, 9 out of 10 times Christopher Nolan's director of photography. And Christopher Nolan's movies are always beautiful looking. So I was excited for that. It had a great cast. I thought it had a good premise. Like, it was like a dude that's dying. They download his brain into the computer, and like he kind of becomes like a crazy megalomaniacal AI or whatever. Okay, all right, that's cool. Maybe it's like kind of more like a more modern, serious version of the Lawnmower Man. Okay, all right, I'm interesting. Those who know what the Lawnmower Man is, but God, this movie's fucking boring. God, man. I feel like it'd make like a pile of dirt yawn. Like, fuck. Like, shit. Like, he, like, what? I don't even really remember this movie. Like, and what I do, like, hurts my brain. Like, I remember, like, he was, like, making, what was he making? Robots, and they had, like, real estate in some fucking desert.
Yeah.
They had like a farm for solar panels in the desert, but then he was able to make himself appear through fiber optics and nanomites or whatever, but he was trying to transmit subconscious from AI. This is literally the first time I have thought about this movie since this year, since
Yes.
2014. Like,
Yes. Me too. And just, yeah, and just, uh, like, I feel like Johnny Depp's character has like terminal cancer and then he like becomes a machine. I felt like this movie was going to give me terminal cancer.
well, no, it was a botched assassination attempt on him by
Well, what?
a radical religious group.
I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't like this movie. But yeah, no, it's just I was bored out of my fucking skull. I was disappointed. Wally Feister, if you're listening, probably not, but in the hopes that you are, just work for Christopher Nolan, dude.
I mean, he might be listening. I don't think he's making a movie right now.
I think he killed his career. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Go
No,
ahead,
that does suck though, because just think about that. Like, you finally get to break free and do your own thing, and it lands like this. Like, I feel bad for him in that respect.
I don't.
But yeah, this movie was basically reverse Bicentennial Man.
Yeah, it's like Bicentennial Man without the happiness,
And like,
without any emotion.
I gotta give well, that's because we still yet to see the butthole cut of Bicentennial Man. But yeah, like, that does suck. But I got to give Warner Brothers credit for trying to celebrate a new filmmaker, I guess, on their roster. But like, they were really leaning in heavy on from the cinematographer of the Dark Knight trilogy, and it's like, other than like us, mainstream audiences don't give a shit about who a cinematographer is. Like,
Most of
I,
them can't
I
even spell it.
yeah, and I know that sounds super disrespectful or whatever, but like, the random teenagers and normal people on a Friday night go into a movie, nobody's going to be like, oh, wait, no. So this is the director of photography for some other movies. It's like
Yeah,
mainstream people can't appreciate that.
yeah.
And
If we say Christopher Nolan's DP, like people's mind go to a dirty place.
yeah, yes. And but yeah, it's just one of those things where there's not much more to say about it other than like Johnny Depp. I mean, yeah. I mean, I got to give him credit. He finally did something that wasn't Pirates of the Caribbean or something with Tim Burton,
I feel
and then it was
I,
this.
I feel like this movie was the reason why Amber Heard beat him up.
I'm I'm gonna stop talking now.
She just
Holy
watched this movie and like, you're fucking done.
fuck. All right, well,
Zing!
I'm gonna take that moment and try to segue into our next movie, Godzilla. Um, yikes.
And this movie made Amber Heard would have beat up Godzilla. I don't know. Sorry.
All right,
I'm
but
done.
let's be real here. Amber Heard versus Godzilla. I would buy that pay-per-view.
Yes.
I mean, Aaron Johnson did, Godzilla because it has an ancient creature in it, which just reminded him of his wife.
Youch.
Okay, I'm sorry. That sounded super disrespectful, but I mean, like, she married a guy who was like decades younger than her. I'm sorry, that's not cool.
Who do you think
Yeah.
you are, Madonna?
Yeah, and like, not trying to be mean, but like, she ain't even a MILF, dog.
Oh,
All right, let's
okay,
talk about Godzilla.
this is our last episode ever.
But
Says you.
it's like, dude, like, you're an attractive, like, Hollywood actor, and you're like, nutting in someone that looks like someone's aunt from Cumberland.
Donnie, please talk about Godzilla.
I'm trying. I'm
I'm
trying to talk
sorry.
about Godzilla, but Mike won't let me.
I'm sorry. I'm on a roll. I'm sorry. I'm done.
Godzilla. The 2014 Godzilla reboot. I liked it for the most part. I mean, it did it didn't have enough of the actual Godzilla, which is kind of a problem. But when he does show up, holy fuck, is it awesome! And I mean the rest of the movie with the bits following the human characters and stuff like that. I mean I did like how it did give us some more focus of like what are the human characters doing as all this destruction is going on? How are they surviving? How are they getting around? How are they getting through it all? Um, but it did need a bit more Godzilla. But like I said, when he does show up, like when he does the atomic breath, I fucking squealed. Like that was the coolest part in the fucking movie. Um, like overall, I mean, for the most part, you pretty much get what you expect out of it. I think it's a pretty cool movie. It's a nice, cool popcorn flick. I do love that. I do think they missed a golden opportunity though at the end when he like wakes up and he starts walking back towards the ocean. They didn't have the song "I'm the Man" playing.
Yeah.
um, that was a missed opportunity right there. But other than that, it's a cool movie. So I'm just gonna go ahead and bounce it to you, Mike.
Uh, um, I honestly don't really have a lot to say about this movie. I I saw it that one time in theaters, and that was it.
Hmm.
It was it was just all right. I mean, I think the movies that have proceeded in this Godzilla, Kaiju, King Kong universe have been better
Hmm.
than this one. This I feel like this is the weakest of them all. Um, the problem is that, and I'm beating a dead horse here because this is what everybody complained about when it came out, is that the whole movie advertises like Bryan Cranston is going to be like a prominent role in this
Yeah,
figure.
yeah.
I'm not going to say that they tried to make it like he was the main character, but I figured he was at least like important. Like it was going to be him and his son and like whatever, and his son's wife. That's Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen, which was kind of jarring because literally like
Yeah,
less than a
yeah,
year later, they're brother and sister in Age of Ultron. But I mean, it's like they're not related in real life, but it was just kind of weird.
yeah.
I don't know. But anyways,
What are you doing, stepbrother?
yeah. Oh God. Um, but anyway, yeah, and just yeah, and that's the thing. Bryan Cranston, like he's like giving his A game in a fucking Godzilla movie. Like he's like at a 10, and then like just to get killed off, and then you got boring fucking Aaron Taylor Johnson like the rest of the movie. And there's nothing against him. I like him in certain movies. Like I thought he was an alright Quicksilver. I mean, he wasn't as good as Evan Peters, and I liked him as Kick Ass. You know, yeah, he's cool as Kick Ass, but it just I don't know. Just the whole thing of following him around was just kind of boring. And then that was the problem. Like they and I feel like I say this in every fucking Godzilla movie. Like everyone's guilty of this. There's just not enough Godzilla. I don't know if they just feel like that the audience will disconnect, or you gotta build up to it, like like the whole horror movie thing, like you gotta build tension, like, oh, when's it gonna happen? But it's just like, his name's in the fucking title. Like people come to see Godzilla. Just show fucking Godzilla. But I will say, like, even though the next movies added way more human characters, I feel like we got more Godzilla. So in the end, it's okay. It's not like this is like the Rise of Skywalker or anything.
Oh, don't fucking get me started on that movie. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Blake.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
when I first saw,
He was taking a nap.
I just needed to recover from disrespecting all those disrespectful things we opened with. Um, but no,
What?
when I first saw this movie, I was like really pissed off. I mean, I was just so annoyed that, like, pardon my language, but like they kept blue balling you on Godzilla the whole movie, and it's like, yes, I get it. They don't, you eat ice cream with sprinkles, not sprinkles with ice cream. You don't want to go all in and then have the rest of the movie be numbing. But it's just like, oh my god, most of the movie I just didn't care, and it's like I wouldn't pay to go see a Spider-Man movie where he only spends a couple minutes in a 2.5 hour movie swinging around and being in costume. I wouldn't pay to see that. I wouldn't pay to see a Superman movie where he just walks around in normal clothes. Like, if I go see a Godzilla movie, I want to see more Godzilla. And I know that makes me sound dumb. That's a stupid thing to say. Like, oh, you don't like character development. I'm sorry, the characters in this movie, like after Bryan Cranston pieces out, I don't give a shit. You have Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen making us all think of incest because they were Quicksilver and Wanda,
Yeah.
and I just, yeah, I just didn't care. And I was looking forward to this. Like, I thought the trailers were good. I remember going into this month, the month of May, I was like, oh yeah, like the new Godzilla, and even though like the the tomato meter would have agreed with me beforehand, I was like, oh yeah, the new Godzilla looks way more fun than the new Amazing Spider-Man. And then by the end of the month, I was like, wow, Donnie, I'm really fucking sorry I ever said that shit. um, but
Bitch.
but yeah, like, it's just, I don't know. And people are like, you don't want too much Godzilla because then you'll get tired of it. It's like, okay, well then give us like characters that you fucking care about more. Like, like every episode of Stranger Things isn't 11 blowing up Demogorgons, but we have characters that we actually give a shit about. Like, I don't know, but I'm done and I'm
Well,
pissed
yeah,
again.
they brought 11 into the sequel. They heard you, man.
Yeah, true, true. Wow, I didn't realize that.
Well, next movie, Edge of Tomorrow. I really enjoyed this movie when it first came out. I thought it was really cool. It was just a really cool Tom Cruise sci-fi action flick. I thought it had a neat, interesting premise of how he basically an alien like blows up all over him, and its blood infuses with his, and these aliens have like the ability to time travel. So basically, every time he gains that ability from their blood, so every time he dies, he loops back to the previous day, and he has to relive the same day over and over again until he finally figures out a way to kill these fucking aliens. Um, and I just thought it was just a really cool movie, a really cool concept. Um, I mean, it's just one of those movies you don't really have much to say other than go watch it. So I'll go ahead and bounce it to you, Mike.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I will say, yet again, I've only seen it that one time in theaters, but I have been saying to myself, I need to, sit down and rewatch it again because it was a pleasant surprise. Like I thought it was just kind of be like a dumb, fun Tom Cruise movie, but I felt like it had a little more to it. It had some heart, and it
Mm-hmm.
was it was a lot of fun, and it's a shame that it didn't do very well, and people tried to like blame it on the title. So like I remember like on all the Blu-rays and DVDs, it says like in real big letters "Live, Die, Repeat," and then like in real tiny it says "Edge of Tomorrow."
Mm-hmm.
It's just like I don't think the title was the reason why it didn't do well.
I mean, the title of the movie's better than the fucking manga that it's adapted from.
Yeah, it's like people were like, "Oh, they should have used the manga name." It's like it's called
Yeah.
"All You Need Is Kill." Like
What the fuck
that's
is that?
it's like that's a fucking incomplete sentence. Like that's like something like I mean it's in another language, so like it's being translated in English, I guess. But like that's like that's like fucking third graders like fan fiction. Like that's like that's like something like one of us like would make up in our bedrooms in the seventh grade. All you need is kill. Yeah, fucking hardcore. I'm gonna steal my dad's Playboy mags. Yeah, but yeah, fucking love anime, dude. When I'm 18, I'm moving to Japan. Yeah, but jokes aside, it's a really cool movie.
Why were you making that dude sound like the Van Helsing parody from Billy and Mandy?
Hostile Gato,
Yeah.
because Hostile Gato is an edgelord. Like that's the edgelord voice. But uh, but no, like everybody's really good at it. Like Emily Blunt's great in it too. She's arguably the best part of the movie. And again, the late great Bill Paxton's in it. But yeah, no, it's jokes aside, it's a really great movie, and I need to watch it again.
Go ahead, Blake.
I agree with everything that's been said up to this point. Like, it was a pleasant surprise. And I mean, like, it's not that I didn't expect it to be good at all. Like, it's a Tom Cruise action movie. Like, that, and it's him fighting aliens. This was basically his apology for War of the Worlds. And, like, War of the Worlds isn't
Yeah.
Yeah.
necessarily a bad movie, but it's like, when I when I heard that Tom Cruise and Steven Spielberg were going to make a War of the Worlds movie together, like when the star of Mission Impossible was teaming up with the director of Indiana Jones, like that should have been a fun ass movie, and it wasn't. It's
It was
like
just an ass movie.
it's a Bostonian running away from shit, and I feel like this was his apology for that. It's like because I kept saying like I would have wanted to see a War of the Worlds movie where you have Tom Cruise in it. Like Tom Cruise better goddamn be the leader of the resistance or some shit. And this was kind of that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not the leader in it, but it's still my point. I was like, it's an awesome action packed alien blockbuster.
Mhm.
It's it's a more inspired Independence Day sequel than the one that came out 2 years after this.
Oof.
And
That movie doesn't exist. I don't know what you're talking about.
that's fair.
There is no
And
Independence Day 2.
and yeah, like Emily Blunt is awesome in it. It was like you talk about like honestly, I think the original name "All You Need Is Kill" is so terrible. It's awesome. I would have been on board for it, and I love Emily Blunt's nickname, the Full Metal Bitch.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, it was awesome seeing like Bill Paxton in it. He's basically like the opposite of how he was in Aliens, where he's like the strict guy in charge. Um, No, I love that movie. I love this movie, and it's Groundhog Day, but an alien invasion with Tom Cruise. Like that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like All You Need Is Kill. Like that sounds like a title that Tommy Wiseau would come up with. Like I feel
All you
like
need is kill.
yeah, All You Need Is Kill. I did not.
Well, next movie, Transformers: Age of Extinction. What a
Ugh.
what a loud fucking mess this movie was. This this is the only Transformers movie I've seen from beginning to end. Other than this, I've seen like
Really?
yeah. Other than this, I've seen like maybe the first like half hour of the third one. I think I either the second or third one, but yeah, this is the only one I've seen from beginning to end. And I was kind of excited because they were the marketing had the Dinobots, and I'm like, yeah, when I was a kid, I fucking loved the Dinobots. They were my jam, and they're barely in the fucking movie. And
Yeah.
this movie's just a loud fucking mess that's like 45 fucking minutes too long. I left this movie with a fucking migraine, and I was like, wow, there's the first and only Transformers movie I'm ever fucking seeing. So that's all I got to say about that. You go ahead, Mike.
Um, I was kind of in the same, not as far as viewing the other ones, but I was mildly excited for this one. I'll admit it. The best one is the first one. I feel like the first one is the most like watchable because I feel like I mean the jokes are Michael Bay jokes, but I feel like they're at least still funny, and I feel like the action isn't too over the top. Um, the second one is just like a clusterfuck. Like, if you ever just want to see someone like take a shit in a tin can and call it a movie, like that's Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. The third one was a little bit better. It was like they had like Leonard Nimoy as like the I don't remember his name. He was the Autobot who like betrays them. It's kind of like I guess supposed to be the moral gray character. And I was like, all right, it still wasn't that good, but like it had a little more going for it than the second movie. And then the third or the fourth movie, they say like, well, this movie's like a sequel, but a soft reboot, and the main character's going to be Mark Wahlberg now. And I like Mark Wahlberg. I think Mark Wahlberg's awesome. I think he's great in comedies. I think he's great in action movies. I was like, he could be a legit like if you're gonna like if you're gonna have like a Transformers movie follow a human character, I thought Mark Wahlberg was like a good choice. And like you said, like the Dinobots, I always love the Dinobots. Like when I saw the clip of like Optimus riding Grimlock with like a sword, I'm like, all right, I can get behind this. This looks cool. All right, but yeah, like for for a movie that's 2 hours and 45 minutes, the
Ugh.
Dinobots are in it for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, come on, dude. And like this movie, just like the Michael Bay humor is just like it's like beyond cringy. It's fucking creepy. Like there's like a 10-15 minute scene dedicated to how Mark Wahlberg's 17-year-old girlfriend and her boyfriend, who's over the age of 18, I guess he's supposed to be like 19 or 20, I don't fucking know, how they have this like 10-15 minute scene explaining the Romeo and Juliet laws. How it's okay for me to date your underage daughter because of, blah, 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 because I guess they were dating before he turned 18 and all that shit.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
man, I get the concept of what I get. Like, okay, they're trying to say it's okay and it's not weird, but the fact that you had to like explain that and write that down in a story makes you seem fucking weird
it's
Yeah.
it's pretty
and
bad.
creepy.
It's pretty bad when Michael Bay puts more thought into statutory rape than he does the plot of his own movie.
Yeah, he puts more thought into statutory rape than fucking giant robots. Like,
There's also no reason for a movie about giant fucking robots from space being. There's no reason for a movie of that being almost 3 hours long.
no, no. If this movie was like an hour and 45 minutes, like minus the statutory rape condoning, like it would be fine. But
Yeah.
no, it's just yeah, and it's rough.
Yeah.
Um, and somehow the fifth one's even worse, but that's for another time. But yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
Well, go ahead, Blake.
Um, so I was ushering at the theater. I guess the Thursday night premiere of this, and I had to do a theater check halfway through the movie. And I walked in and I watched maybe not even 5 minutes of it, maybe not even four, probably like 2 or 3 minutes. And it was just loud, bright, shiny things bashing into each other with loud noises. It was literally just shapes and loud noises. And I walked out and I literally had a ocular migraine for like 12 hours. Like I felt like I was going to throw up. And I've still never seen this movie to this day. And I'm legitimately proud of that. I am genuinely proud that like even during the time when I felt like I had to see everything, especially like 2014 through 2016, I felt like if it came out, I had to see it. If it was at the theaters, especially since I got in for free anyway. But I am truly proud of myself for being able to look at those last two Transformers movies and saying to myself, "Nah, I'm good." Um, yeah, I mean,
You're not missing much.
it's and one more story of it. I have more of a story around this movie. So, but then like that weekend, I think it was like I don't think it was Friday night. I think it was like Saturday night. There were these two boys that kept walking out of it and hanging out in the lobby, and then finally the movie isn't even is maybe like 2/3 finished. It still has like another solid like 40 to 45 minutes to go. And their grandpa is just straight up leaving with them. And he goes, "Okay, I guess we'll go home now. If I can't get you to stay in there, we really wasted that money on you today." And, two small boys, probably like the youngest was probably like 5 and the oldest was maybe 8. And the older one finally said, "Well, Pappy, it just keeps going and it doesn't end." And I was like, wow, when you make a movie about giant talking robots from outer space and children are walking out of it, you failed. Like, and
Yeah.
this isn't like, oh, well, you got no room to talk. Like, you're not a filmmaker yourself. It's like, no, I'm able to say that confidently. Like, you make a movie like that, and children are like, oh, fuck it, I'm out of here. Like, you failed. Um, but no, and it's like the first one isn't just the most watchable one. It is the only rewatchable one in my opinion. Like I have no desire to ever see the other ones again. But like I don't know, maybe in a couple years if we're hanging out or something, it's like screw it. Put on the first Transformers movie. Like first one's genuinely fun. But yeah, I mean this. Whew, not much more to say other than I'm genuinely glad I've never given into. I wonder how that was after all. Nope, no thanks.
All right. Well, next movie, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. What?
Just Koga watching that Coke commercial before this.
Yeah.
Oh, was that the gag me one or was that the hang
It
me?
was it was
Yeah.
just because they were at the theme park. He's like, "I'll just untie the Six Flags and fucking hang me with them."
Oh, fucking gag me.
Yeah, I love it. Go ahead. Sorry, Donnie.
All right, but the movie itself, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, I really enjoyed this movie. I think it's a very I don't know if I would say it's better than the previous movie in this series, but it's definitely a very solid and worthy sequel in my opinion. And I liked the interactions between the apes and the humans and how there's a lot of like just even, also the interactions amongst the apes with other apes and the humans with other humans, like how a lot of them are like they all each have their own different points of view on this whole conflict and this war going on between the two species. And it was just very interesting to see all these differing personalities amongst these two groups. So I mean, I just think it's a very cool movie, a very good movie, and it's got a lot of heart and soul in it too. So, like I said, I don't know if I would say it's better than the previous movie, but it's definitely a very worthy sequel, in my opinion. So I'll just go ahead and give it to you, Mike.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. Yet again, it's one of those that I only saw once in theaters, and I've been saying I need to watch it again. Um, I would say out of the trilogy, I think I like this one the best. But I think they're all good. I think all three of the newer Apes movies are really solid. Um, I was kind of thinking like going into this movie, like, are they going to like, is it going to be just like Caesar pitted against the humans, and or what are they going to do? Is it going to be like the humans or the villains, or are we going to be in like we're going to be sympathetic to the apes, or is it going to start becoming like the old movies where most of the apes are the villains? You know what I mean? But I like that they had those like different gray areas where they're just like people. Like really, like Caesar doesn't really have anything against humans. He just wants to be left alone, and he like wants to just take care of his people. Like he doesn't even want to hurt humans. But there's that whole thing with like Koba. Like Koba like wants vengeance against people, and he's more of kind of the antagonistic like ape like from the old movies. And then in the third movie we have like Woody Harrelson as like the antagonistic human and stuff. And but there's like good humans like what's that actor's name? Jason something.
Oh, oh my God.
He he was in almost everything for a couple years, and I feel like he fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah. He was the the John Connor in Terminator Genesis.
Yeah. Oof.
Jason. Oh my God, that's gonna bug me. Go ahead, keep talking, Mike. I'll
Yeah,
look it up.
but he's a good actor. And then like Gary Oldman. Well, Gary Oldman's not in the movie as much as it advertised. Like he was pretty cool as kind of like the conflicted leader of like the humans, and that's in the story and stuff like that. But
Jason Clark.
Jason Clark, yeah. But yeah, no, I thought it was really really good. The cool thing about these movies is that like there is action in them, but it's all about like the character and the drama. Like I feel like they really nail like the character arcs. Like Andy Serkis, like for one of these movies, deserved a nomination. Like I'm not saying like maybe he deserved a win, but he at least needed a nod. And like these movies are leaps and bounds better than the Mark Wahlberg Tim Burton one. I don't know. I don't remember if you guys talked about that one at all, but
I don't even remember.
phew. But yeah. Yeah, no, it's a really good movie. I need to rewatch it. I need to maybe one day like just sit down and watch all three in a row, like marathon them or something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Blake?
I mean, yeah, it's a great sequel. It probably does surpass Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Yeah, I mean, I remember a lot of people were saying it was the Dark Knight of Planet of the Apes movies. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's got action in it, and but there's a lot of emotion. I love the story of when the director of this God, what's his name? Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves.
He screened this movie for his friend J.J. Abrams, and um,
That chode.
well, anyway, this was in 2014 when we weren't angry at J.J. Abrams. But anyway, he screened it for him, and it was without the motion capture effects put in, and he was stunned, as he was almost like speechless. And finally he said, like, I almost wish, and it was the scene where Jason Clark and Andy Serkis are saying goodbye to each other, and and he's like, I almost wish you could show this movie without the digital effects, because that is honestly one of the best performances I have ever seen. And because yeah, like the moments when like Caesar is like, emotional and on the verge of tears, and even, tearing up a little bit, like Andy Serkis is really doing that. Like he's really like emoting and like putting his acting into it. And yeah, I love that moment too, where they say goodbye to each other. It's it's very emotional. It really gets you. But yeah, I need to rewatch it. And I remember almost nothing about the third film. I don't know. It's not that the third film was bad or anything. It's just like it just didn't stick with me. And with this movie, like I thought it was good. I just don't think it was as good as what everyone else were promising it was at the time. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I,
The saying the Dark Knight of the Apes movies, that's a tall order.
yeah, I felt like I had been promised to be walking into an A+, and I ended up walking out of a B+. Like, still good, but like,
Or yeah, I would give it like an A minus.
yeah, for sure. But I think a lot of other people, like the schmoes or whatever, they were really overselling it.
Yeah, I mean, what they like going to the scene that J.J. Abrams loved. I mean, they could have just made budget cuts and said, "Oh, well, the apes evolved and now they look like people with dots on their faces and gray spandex."
Yeah. So. Mm.
All right, next movie, Snowpiercer. Um, I've only seen this movie the one time, and I mean I thought it was cool. I thought it was a very well done movie. It was a very interesting movie, and even in some parts thought provoking. But I don't want to say it's heavy handed with its themes and messages, but there were some points where it was just kind of like, all right, we get the point, because it's just like the whole movie is just class warfare and environmentalism, and it's just all these different messages, and like I said, I don't want to say it's heavy handed, but it's not subtle about it either.
Mhm.
But I do think it's a pretty good movie. It's a very well done movie. It's also a very interesting movie to see Chris Evans in. Um, I would definitely recommend it. But other than that, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I feel like this half of the list, like all these movies I've seen once and that's it.
Hmm.
Is But I think when I saw it, I think we were all watching it at Trevor's house, weren't we?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I liked it. I thought it was a cool movie. I get the praise it was getting and stuff. I mean, it wasn't my favorite movie or anything. I thought it was really good, but I think the concept of it is cool. Kind of this dystopian world where a whole like society lives on a train, and it's kind of like the poor live in the back and the upper class live in the front. And it was very um,
That was
just
my
like the
question during the whole thing. I was just like, why a train? Like,
yeah. I don't. I don't know. I don't know if they had to always keep moving or something. I know like it was like there was snow everywhere, so I don't fucking know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But I was listening.
I guess I guess it was cheaper than building a biodome. I don't know.
I guess I'm just kind of like, I mean, if you always got to keep moving, it's like, what's the point? The whole planet's frozen anyway. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. They must have watched that Pauly Shore movie and be like, "Fuck it, just get a train." But no, I would say Chris Evans, like he puts in a great performance. Especially that scene where he talks about how he didn't used to be a great person and resorted to doing terrible things. Spoilers. It was cannibalism. But yeah, I other than that, I feel like I don't remember a whole lot. I remember like Jamie Bell and Tilda Swinton being in it and stuff like that. But I'd have to rewatch again. I think there's a TV show out now for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's like. I haven't watched it, but yeah, I liked it. I would give it like a solid B plus A minus. It was kind of that movie that like it was not an indie movie, but it was technically a foreign movie, but it just kind of blew up and like it had all the buzz and stuff like that. I don't remember if it won any awards or anything, but I liked it. Yeah, it was a cool movie. I'll have to watch it again.
Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an excellent film by an excellent filmmaker and storyteller. Yeah, it was really refreshing to see Chris Evans in this kind of role. And yeah, I mean, the great scene of the movie is when, he's sitting down, defeated, having a smoke, talking to, I guess, one of the other characters, and the start of the conversation, the monologue is, "Do you know what I hate about myself?" And he continues with, I know what people taste like, and he just starts, I guess, really like breaking down and crying, and it's a powerful scene. Um, but yeah, I think it was definitely different. I mean, it was and you know Harvey Weinstein wanted to cut so much of it because he didn't think American audiences would understand it. And it's like, it's just about, class warfare on a train in a post-apocalypse. Like Harvey Weinstein, what is there to misunderstand? Um,
He's just like a walking fucking tumor. Like, he's just someone just needs to put him out of his misery.
Put him out of our misery.
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, Snowpiercer, excellent movie. I definitely should rewatch it. I still need to see Parasite also.
Yeah, I haven't
too.
seen that either.
I need to see that too.
I hear I hate myself for, not because I know what people taste like, but I hate myself with that because when it came to Parasite, I kept seeing the TV spots and I'm like, what is this movie even about? So I looked it up and I read into it and I'm like, oh my God, like that sounds like a really good movie. But now I'm like, oh man, the movie would have been way better if I didn't know all that. It was just one of those like, I shot myself in the
You
foot.
played yourself.
I played myself. So that's it.
All right, next movie, the 2014 Ninja Turtles reboot. Now, I'm a huge Ninja Turtles fan. I love me some turtles. Um, I like turtles.
Turtle.
Not that turtle. But anyway, I'm a huge Ninja Turtles fan, and I remember when this movie got announced, like a couple years prior. I was like, oh, cool, they're gonna make another live-action Ninja Turtles movie, sweet. And then they were like, Michael Bay's gonna produce it, and I was like, oh, that's not good. I'm scared. um, and I was not pleased. And then that news broke out for a little bit that they were going to be aliens instead of mutants. I'm like, oh, that's not a good idea. Um,
Roof.
but then they didn't go that route, which was good. And then as pictures and everything from the set and everything, and screenshots from the movie start coming out, I'm like, all right, this actually looks kind of cool. Like I'm getting behind this. And the movie came out, and I was still a little cautious about it going in because again, Michael Bay. And the movie's going on. We're about midway through the movie, and I'm just like, yo, I'm actually having fun. This is actually pretty neat. Like, it's not a great movie. I'm not going in here expecting, a masterpiece or anything. But as far as the Ninja Turtles movies go, it was pretty fun. It was cool. I liked it for the most part. It was neat. My only complaint really is I feel like the Shredder doesn't have enough he's not enough of a character in this movie. He's too behind the scenes almost to the point that he's almost one dimensional. But I do love how this movie, a lot of people have a lot of nostalgia for those 90s live action movies, and I enjoy them for the most part as well. But this movie did one thing right that those movies did not, and that is each of the turtles in this movie have their own personality, so much so distinct from each other. And not just in the way they act, but in the way they move and in the way they dress and everything. You could tell that these are four distinct individual characters in this movie, which was really nice. But overall, it's a fun movie. If you like the Ninja Turtles, you'll enjoy this movie. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give it to you, Mike.
Yeah, it's a funny thing in preparation of this, like when I was looking at the list, like before we started, you just put TMNT, so I thought you were talking about the animated movie, and I was like, oh wait, that didn't come out in 2014. I was like, this is the Michael Bay one. But yeah, this movie, I did not have high expectations for it at all. I was like, oh shit, like Michael Bay's producing a Turtles movie, like he's already ruined the fucking Transformers. What the fuck's he gonna do to the Turtles? But yeah, in all honesty, like it's not that bad. It's fun. It's a fun movie. I mean, is it the best Turtles movie? No. It's like that still belongs to the 1990 movie.
Yeah.
That movie will never be topped as far as Turtles movies go because it's the practical suits and there's actually a lot of emotion and heart in those movies. But in that movie, I mean, but um, yeah, the one thing you brought up, I did really like that they gave a little more focus on their individual personalities, like uh symbolically and like aesthetically. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if turtle purists would be mad about this, but I actually like that they wore clothes. I just always thought it was funny that technically, I mean, the turtles have shells, but they're technically always naked.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was like cool that Leonardo's he's the do-gooder by the book, like takes his ninjutsu like the
Mm-hmm.
most serious out of all of them. Like he's the devout pupil, the prodigal son. So he's like dressed more like a traditional ninja, and he's got shoulder pads and shit, stuff like that. And Mikey's like he's the surfer dude, goofball. So he's got like a hoodie and sunglasses. Just the little things like that I thought were
Mm-hmm.
cool. Um, really, the only thing aesthetically that did bother me with them, I thought they were too big. Like if they looked just a little more like they traditionally do, but wore clothes and stuff like that,
Yeah.
it'd be perfect. To me, that would be perfect. Like if they looked more like they did in the old movies, plus the outfits and stuff, they'd be perfect. But as far as being a Ninja Turtle, they're too big, and I also wasn't a fan of them like tackling like cars and shit, and like basically being like living like wrecking balls. I was like, isn't the point of a ninja to be stealthy? But I don't know. It's a dumb action movie. But I will say, if the thing you mentioned about the Shredder, yeah, the Shredder is kind of bland and weak in this movie. But one of the reasons why he's so like one dimensional and doesn't have a lot to do is because William Fichtner's character, that Eric Sachs
Mm-hmm. He was
character,
supposed to be the Shredder,
he was the Shredder.
which would have been
And
fucking awesome.
they changed it at the last minute because that when he's like talking to the Oroku Saki, who's like standing in the shadows, those were all like reshoots and stuff
Mm-hmm.
because because if you notice all the scenes where you see like Shredder in his mech suit, like he's not around because
Right.
he was the dude that's in there.
Right.
And yeah, I guess because they were afraid it'd be whitewashing and stuff like that, which I understand that
Right.
they changed it. And then in the next movie they completely ignored the Mexican thing because they got an Asian actor and showed his face, and he actually kind of wore a more traditional X Shredder suit. But um heck, I even like Johnny Knoxville doing the voice of Leonardo. Like I was like, why the hell did they get Johnny Knoxville to be Leonardo?
Yeah.
But he actually did a decent job voice wise because it's like Leonardo's the serious one. Like, why would you get Johnny Knoxville to do the voice
Yeah.
of him? I mean, he didn't come back for the sequel, but I thought he did a good job. But yeah, I thought it was fun. The best scene's the elevator scene where they're all getting like pumped and then they all start like doing the beat and like are
Mm-hmm.
basically using their weapons as instruments. Like that's the best part. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
Go ahead, Blake.
I mean, yeah, I had been saying for a few years, like, oh, that'd be cool if they did another, live action Ninja Turtles movie again. They finally did. They announced like Michael Bay was going to be the producer. Everybody was getting super worried. I was like, well, hold on. He's just the guy that's writing some checks. Like he may not really be that involved in the creative process. Um, and yeah, I mean, they got a guy who hadn't really proven himself up to that point. He had made the Clash of the Titans remake sequel, Wrath of the Titans, and then before that, he did the Aaron Eckhart movie, Battle for L.A., and they just weren't.
I think he also did another movie for Michael Bay. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he did Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning.
Yes,
Cuz
he did.
yeah,
Yes,
cuz that was when Michael Bay like was doing like the Platinum Dunes like horror remakes.
yeah, yeah. So they got a filmmaker that a lot of people didn't really get excited for, but I remember it came out and like I was sitting there watching. I was with you, Donnie, and I was looking up at the screen and I'm like, I am entertained by this. I am enjoying myself, and I almost felt guilty. I'm like, is that allowed? Is that okay? But yeah, I thought it was fine for what it was. I mean, it's not an all timer, but yeah, other people were like, oh my god, it was so terrible. I even thought Megan Fox's April O'Neil was all right. She was
Yeah,
okay.
she was fine.
Um, I also think Megan Fox got a really dirty deal over the years. Like, people gave her so much shit, and which was we're seeing now in hindsight was very unfair.
Yeah.
And yeah, she got a bad rap. And yeah,
Yeah,
Leonardo.
now she's dating Machine Gun Kelly. Like, fuck. Somebody
Like
save her.
fuck.
Machine Gun Kelly actually seems like an okay dude, I guess. But
Nah. Like, he told Eminem's daughter he was gonna rape her. Like, he's
oh
kind of
wow, okay, I'm
he,
sorry, I forgot that part. I'm really
he's
sorry.
kind of a loser.
Oh,
Yeah.
yikes, my bad. Um,
That's why that whole rap battle started. If anyone didn't know.
oh, okay, yikes. Anyway, Ninja Turtles, fun movie for what it is. Yeah, people were too hard on it.
All right, next movie, The Expendables 3. Yeah.
Oh.
This movie was probably the fucking disappointment of the year. Um,
And that's saying something.
no, I'm being serious because The Expendables 1 was just kind of like whatever. You know you knew what you were getting into when you saw that poster and figured out what the premise was. But The Expendables 2 was like actually pretty fucking solid and a fun fucking movie. And I remember Blake, you and I going into The Expendables 3 being like, both enjoying The Expendables 2 and be like, oh man, I wonder what they're going to do with this one. And it just got worse by the fucking minute. And it was a fucking dumpster fire on wheels, and not just a dumpster fire. There was probably some raccoons in the dumpster as well. Um, it just progressively got worse, and by the end, I remember making the comment during the end credits where they're showing like, starring, and like it would have like the name of the actors and it would have like their faces or whatever. I'm like, everybody in this like shot looks like they don't want to be here. Um, it was not a good movie. It was not a good time, and yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Well, funny thing with the Expendables. I had the unfortunate luck. For those who don't know me, I worked at a shitty ass job where I always had to work the fucking weekends. And anytime the Expendables movies were coming out and the guys were seeing it, I always had to fucking work.
Mm.
So for the longest time, I had not seen any of these movies, and I actually don't have much to contribute because I've only seen the first two. And I've been told, if you don't want to watch the third one, you don't have to.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
But just to throw in real quick, like I watched it recently because they were on Hulu. The first one's all right. The first one surprisingly is really dark. Like I feel like it tries to get like emotional in points. Like the scenes are like Stallone's like talking to Mickey Rourke, who doesn't even fucking come back in the second or third movie.
Yeah.
And like the violence is very like dark and gritty. It's like very 2000y. But the second one is just like a load of fucking fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That movie is awesome. That movie is just like pure popcorn action movie. Like people who grew up on 80s action movies, like this was like one of the movies they were waiting for.
Yeah.
I just wish like Arnold was in it more. But like what he does do in it is cool. Um but yeah, and I am kind of sad even though I liked Van Damme as the villain, I would have liked to seen him as a hero with the rest of them.
Yeah.
I remember a friend of ours like said some theory. I don't know if he came up with this or heard it somewhere, but he said in the third movie, Van Damme should come back as like the villain's twin brother from the second movie that's a good guy. And I'm like, that's so ridiculous. It's awesome, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, apparently that didn't happen. But
No.
I did not see the third one, so but I heard it was not as good.
Well, to give you an idea, the third one, Terry Crews spends 80% of the movie in a hospital bed. it's a shot that
That's fucking.
continues. It's a shot that they continuously go back to him in a fucking body cast in a hospital bed, and they do it so many times that like by the third time, Blake and I were laughing every time they fucking did it.
Uh,
Go ahead,
Jeez.
Blake.
Yeah, I mean, I had never heard Donnie lean over to me and whisper in a theater, "I want to go home," so many times. I mean, like everything that happened. First of all, this film should have been like perfect because like the second film, like all you had to do was just mimic the energy of the second film, and Mel Gibson was the villain. Like that should have been awesome because it would have been accurate because Mel Gibson in real life is a terrible fucking human being.
Yeah, it's like he's the perfect like modern villain.
Yeah, like he is a horrible person. The only thing that would have been more accurate to Mel Gibson's heart and soul is if there was a swastika like carved into his forehead, like in Inglorious Bastards. But and then it was just like you had Kelsey Grammer in it, and I'm like, how does Dr. Fraser Crane fit into this world?
Yeah.
But it's just like,
I mean, we weren't complaining at the time. Like that wasn't really the problem.
no, that wasn't the problem. But like, oh man! And then they try to bring in the younger people, like they brought in Liam Hemsworth and Ronda Rousey, and it's like this defeats the entire point of the Expendables. I don't want to see younger, newer people. I want to see the older action heroes of the '80s.
Yeah, this was
Um,
Yeah.
also when I forgot that this was when everybody started fucking jerking off to Ronda Rousey too.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like I just remember, I just remember Mel Gibson dropping a bomb on Terry Crews, who still survives it, is
Yeah.
absolutely ridiculous. And
And then he
talk
shoots
about
him in the butt like 4 times
yeah,
with a sniper rifle.
he shoots him in the butt with a sniper rifle, and then he drops a bomb on him. Like it was just so much overkill. It was almost Looney Tunes. Like I was
Yeah.
waiting for him to say beep beep and run away, but but yeah, and just Donnie so many times was just like, I want to go home. And like I like the additions in it. Other than the newer people, you had Wesley Snipes and Antonio Banderas. Like this should have been a damn fun movie. Like, and it was
What
just
what was worse, this or Transcendence?
um,
Oh,
I'd say
Transcendence.
yeah, Transcendence because at least you could laugh at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had Randy
There
Couture.
was there wasn't a happy soul in that movie theater or Transcendence.
No,
No.
no. You had you had Wesley Snipes trying to make some jokes, and then of course the only moment that I actually got, that was like, okay, that was funny on purpose, was Jason Statham's character. I believe his last name is Christmas, and
Yeah.
Antonio Banderas is all excited in like the helicopter cockpit, and Sylvester Stallone says, "Move over, Christmas is coming," and Antonio Banderas goes, "But it's June." But no,
Uh
other than that, nothing to say.
What
It
about
was a stinker.
what about the Hague? I am the
And
Hague.
yeah, no, no. I will rewatch the second film 5 times before I ever see this again.
Yeah. Next movie, Dracula Untold. Y'all remember when there was gonna be a movie monster universe, the Dark Universe? Y'all remember that shit?
Yes.
Vaguely.
Oh man, that was funny, wasn't it? Dracula Untold is gonna be the first movie of a cinematic universe of the Universal monsters. All right, hear us out. The Mummy is gonna be the first movie of the cinematic. All right, hear us out. There is no cinematic universe.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, now there is. They're just doing like modern, realistic versions now.
right, but they're not like shared universe anymore. They ditched the whole Dark
No.
Universe plan. Um, but
And it's like
like,
and it's like motherfuckers, you already did it with Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman, and I feel like I'm the only motherfucker that likes that movie.
you are correct. But anyway,
I do
Dracula,
I do like that movie. It's a good time.
Dracula Untold, like, it's not a great movie. It's an okay movie, but I do appreciate the fact that they like tried to do something new with a classic character that's been done so many different times, and like pretty much the same way almost every time. So I do appreciate that they try to do something different with him and give him like an interesting like origin story and like tie the classic literary character into the inspiration of that character. Like they tied Bram Stoker's literary character into the historical inspiration, Vlad the Impaler, and made them the same person, which I thought was interesting. But I mean, other than that, it's just kind of like it's an okay movie. It's just kind of like take it or leave it. Um, there's just not a lot to say about it. But so, I'll just go ahead and give it to you, Mike.
Well, it's funny. The one thing you find interesting about it is because that was already done before. the
Oh,
first
really?
person, the first person to do that was actually the the big daddy of the Godfather, Francis Ford Coppola. His '90s interpretation of Dracula. That's the whole prologue of the movie. Is that it shows how Vlad the Impaler and Dracula are the same dude.
Oh, that's right. I completely forgot about that movie for some reason, which is
Yeah.
a shame on me being a huge Coppola fan.
Yeah, no, and like legit, like you want to watch a Dracula movie, watch that one. Like, to me, Coppola's version is the best Dracula movie ever made. No offense to Bela Lugosi, like I respect the black and white classics, but the Gary Oldman one is the best. But anyways, but yeah, but this one they made it the whole movie. Like this movie isn't like the traditional story of Dracula, with Van Helsing and being in like 17th century England and shit like that. This was like like him being in the dark ages and how he became who he was, and it was all right. It a little forgettable, I it didn't. I understand why it didn't do well, but I don't think it deserved like any hate. It was all right. I mean, I thought Luke Evans was decent in it. It
Hmm.
just and I think some of the visuals were in it were kind of cool, but I think a big problem with it too is one, it was PG-13.
Yeah.
If you're gonna bring back the Universal monsters, like they should be. I'm sorry, they should be rated R.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, and it's like, and obviously PG-13 didn't make you any more money. Because at least people would be like, oh yeah, well at least there was some gore in it and shit. But um,
Have you seen the new Invisible Man, Michael?
no, I haven't. I
Oof.
keep
It's
saying
it's it's
like I'm gonna watch it, and I haven't
it's
yet.
really good. It's
Yeah.
really
I
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it's really good. Um, yeah, and I think that's really cool, like the direction they're taking it now. But because I heard that I haven't seen this either. I heard the Tom Cruise Mummy was fucking dog shit.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The
I just
best thing to come out of the Tom Cruise Mummy was that IMAX trailer where they forgot to edit in like the special effects noises.
and the music,
Jesus.
and
Yeah,
he's
and
just "Arrgh!"
yeah, have you seen that, Donnie?
What's that?
Have you seen that video?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, you're okay, Michael. Keep talking, but Donnie, you're about to be sent a fucking treat.
Jesus.
Yeah, but it yeah, it was just all right. I mean, you could tell they were just trying to do what everybody else was doing. Like ever since the Marvel Cinematic Universe came out, everybody's like, we got to make our own shared universe, and we got to have mid and after credit scenes, and they had to show them like, I mean, spoilers if anybody gives a fuck, but they have that scene where Dracula's in modern day, and I guess sees the reincarnation of his wife, but like the vampire that turned him there's too, and he's like, oh, let the games begin if we get a sequel. But it just, yeah, it didn't pan out, but yeah, it was okay. Just watch the Francis Ford Coppola one. That's all I have to say.
Go ahead, Blake.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I didn't think this movie was bad. I just knew right away it was going to be very forgettable. And not just like years later forgettable. I mean, like the next day forgettable. Again, I have no beef with it, but um, yeah, I'm glad to know that Universal learned their lesson and they're like, oh, we don't have to have Universal monster movies with the same budget as like Marvel Studios films. Like, It makes more sense. Jason Blum produces them now, which I'm sorry, you can put down the quality of some of his movies as much as you want, but like he understands the strategy of make 10 movies that are $10 million each, as opposed to one movie that's $100+ million, because you'll get more profit that way. It works out better. And I understand, like with if you want to do a Dracula origin film, it's you want to do something on the scale of like maybe a Lord of the Rings battle or whatever. But yeah, these movies spent way too much money. It didn't work out for them.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's the thing. These, like, I understand they're the movie monsters, but like they don't need a superhero movie budget.
no.
Horror horror works best when how do I put this? When there's less resources.
Right.
Like it just it's more primal. It's more, I don't want to say more real, but it's more raw. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how to put it. Like imagine like someone, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna do another Halloween movie, like, remake, and we're gonna give it $100 million budget." It's like, why?
No. Unless you're paying Jamie Lee Curtis $90 million, that's too much. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, and a big problem with this movie is like, other than that, I mean, I thought how it was cool how I forget the actor's name. I know you already said it, but the guy who makes Dracula become Dracula, what's that actor's name? He's from Game of Thrones.
Oh,
Um,
Charles Dance.
Charles Dance.
He was the bad guy in Last Action Hero.
Right. He in this movie he basically looks like Nosferatu, which is funny
Yeah.
because Nosferatu was the precursor movie vampire to Dracula. Dracula obviously as a fictional character existed beforehand, but as far as the movies go, the Nosferatu black and white movie came before the Bela Lugosi movie. Um, and I thought it was cool how like his aesthetic was a visual throwback to that. But a big problem is like this movie isn't scary. Like him
No.
becoming Dracula, other than that scene where he first meets Charles Dance as a jump scare, whatever. But like him becoming Dracula, him turning into Dracula, like the threat of like, what he'll look like if he actually is Dracula, none of it's scary. And I'm sorry, like if you're gonna make a Dracula movie, like it needs to be scary. And I know I'm not a horror guru, but yeah, no, this some of this movie kind of pussied out on that, and I guess that's just about what I have to say.
Yeah.
All right, next movie, Nightcrawler. This is probably one of my
Nightcrawler.
this is probably one of my favorite Jake Gyllenhaal movies. I just really loved the slow burn pace of this movie, and just Jake Gyllenhaal's character through this whole movie, just how he was very methodical and kind of narcissistic and a bit of a sociopath. Like it was very interesting to watch this character go through the motions of achieving his goals no matter what the cost. And it's just like it's surprising how much of a thriller this movie is, considering the subject matter does not like sound sexy at all. It's a dude like trying to basically be a freelance like not news reporter, but basically supply like the freelance like news cameraman. Like it does not sound like a sexy like premise at all, but like no, like this movie is it keeps you on the edge of your seat through the entire thing, and it keeps you invested. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it to you, Mike.
Yeah, yet again, this is a movie I've only seen one time. But and it was in the theaters with you guys. I I like this movie. It was cool. It really, I feel like this movie is like a prime, like, what should I say, like, demo tape of just Jake Gyllenhaal's like acting prowess. Like, Jake Gyllenhaal is an amazing actor. I think he's also very underrated.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like I don't know if he's a method actor or anything, but like I feel like he just commits to every role he's in and just gives it his A game. Um, he just like in this movie, he just plays like kind of this, like you feel sympathetic for him at first, but there's kind of that rush and how like power corrupts because he just like he becomes like this like amazing, sought after like um like live news cameraman, and like he's like there on the scene. He's trying to get like there on the scene like right when shit happens, like, and just like the scene where there was like a murder in like somebody's house and like they killed the whole family or something, and he's just walking through the house filming it all, but has yet to like alert the police. Like the police don't even know like he's there before anybody, and he doesn't even tell anybody at first. Like he wants to film all of his shit first and then call. Like it's some pretty wild stuff. And yeah, it's a you like you said, you wouldn't think like a thing about like the news would be like a thriller, but that movie like it makes you feel tense. It makes your butthole pucker once or twice.
Mhm.
But I will say this is one of those movies though that I feel like even though I've only seen it once, I feel like I don't really have to rewatch it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like one of the movies. It's like, oh yeah, I gotta do some work, or oh yeah, I'm gonna chill. I'm really tired. Let's watch some Nightcrawler. But yeah, no, it's and there's nothing wrong with that. There's tons of movies that I thought were great movies. They're just you see them once or twice, and that's all you need.
Right.
Maybe watch it two or three times for like a refresher for like some little story bits you forgot. But yeah, like yeah, um, it's not like The Princess Bride or nothing. I could watch that movie 50 million times.
That should be on the back of the Nightcrawler box. It's not the
It's not the
Princess
Princess
Bride.
Bride.
it,
Jesus.
it doesn't have Miracle Max. I'll just could have used a little bit more Miracle Max, but yeah, and I'm pretty sure when we went to the movie theater, Brad was fucking pissed he didn't see a blue guy that teleported. But I'll leave it at that.
Go ahead, Blake.
I mean, yeah. Other than the fact that Andre the Giant wasn't in it, it's a pretty good movie. But yeah, I mean,
On a dog paddle.
um, Jake Gyllenhaal doing this movie after Prisoners was a genius move on his part,
Mhm.
Yeah.
because it showed like Jake Gyllenhaal is not fucking around. Like he is a legit solid actor. I feel like for a while people liked him, people liked his movies, but I feel like as far as like his range, his talent, people were kind of sleeping on him. But no, it's pretty good. And then his sidekick in the movie, Riz Ahmed, um, he's great in it too. He's a great actor. He did a movie last year, The Sound of Metal, that was apparently really good. I still need to see it. It's
Yeah,
on
I
Amazon
wanted to,
Prime.
I wanted to see that too. But what's the shitty thing about Riz Ahmed is I think he's a good actor, but he's in like two like well, one is a movie I fucking hate, and two is a movie that's okay, but his role is terrible.
Yeah.
It's I do not like Rogue One. He's in that. I'm sorry, I don't like Rogue One.
Yeah.
It's not what. To be fair, it's not as bad as the Rise of Skywalker, but I just I don't know. But that's for another story. But and the other thing is, I thought Venom was all right, but like his character and role is just awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, when I still haven't actually seen Venom, but when I saw that he's in it, I'm like, what are you doing in this? Like, why are you here? Like, you could have done. I mean, yeah, he did The Sound of Metal afterwards, which was better. But it's like I see him in a movie like Venom. I think of Aaron Eckhart in a movie like I, Frankenstein. Like Aaron Eckhart, why are you wasting your time with this?
Yeah,
But
Money.
and it's
well,
also like and don't get me wrong, like I it's just the role. Like I mean, in The Sound of Metal, like Riz Ahmed's like fucking jacked, but like him and as the like dweeby corporate guy in Venom, like dude, like I don't buy you as a villain. Like I feel like Tom Hardy would like sneeze on you and make you pass out.
um,
But
but yeah,
anyways,
as far as Nightcrawler, Genius film. But yeah, no, I absolutely agree with Michael. Where it's like it's just one of those movies where after you see it once, you feel like you're good. But yeah, no, still it gets my thumb.
All right, next movie, Interstellar. Um,
Oh yeah.
I mean, it this movie's weird to me. Like it's a good movie, and it's a very aesthetically pleasing movie. I just it gets a little too convoluted, especially near the end, and it just I don't know. It just didn't quite click with me. I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think it just has a story that just gets a little too messy and it's got a little too much going on. But I do think a lot of the criticisms that were surrounding it when it first came out were a little too harsh. But I also think a lot of the praise that was surrounding it was a little too overhyped. Um, all in all, it's not my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. Um, but I don't think it's his worst one by any means. So I'll go ahead and give it to you, Mike.
Um, I love Interstellar. Um, I will say I have rewatched this one. I've watched it a couple times. I actually own like the Steelbook like Blu-ray. Um, this to me like this is just another example of Christopher Nolan being a masterful director and storyteller. And this was like during the resurgence of Matthew McConaughey, like with this and True Detective, and then he won the Oscar for what was it called, Dallas Buyers Club.
Yes, the reconnaissance.
Yeah, the reconnaissance. All right, all right, all right. Um, but yeah, I really on it. Honestly, I feel like my first viewing of this movie cannot be topped. I feel like the other times I've watched it, I don't like it as much, but I still really like it. I still think it's an amazing movie. But my first time watching this, I was so pumped for this movie, and I was on the edge of my seat. Like, and the emotions in this movie, they just hit so fucking hard. Just like him telling his daughter, like I'm coming back, but like statistically or logistically, like she may never see like her father again because of the whole excuse me aspect of him traveling through space and um what do they call it? Not like cryo sleep, but stuff like that, or being on being on a different planet in a galaxy where time passes differently. They go to that one planet. What is it like? Every minute is a whole year on Earth, and
Yeah.
it's just like it's like they can't fuck around, and like but then all this shit happens because there's like a tidal wave and all this shit, and like one of the crew members dies, and it's that movie to me was like I felt like fucking like Shaggy and Scooby Doo where he's like biting on his nails and you see the fucking like nail clippings flying everywhere. Like yeah, and just that scene, and I know now it's like a meme and people make fun of it now, but that scene where Matthew McConaughey is like watching the like video transmissions of his son growing up and like having his kid, like he's like, oh, you're a grandfather, and like him telling like how like his parents have passed away and stuff, and then him seeing his daughter growing up and she just is pissed off and saying like, did you leave us here to die? And then yeah, the I remember when the whole thing where like he has to like eject and he falls into the black hole. I remember looking around at everybody in the movie theater like, I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen. Like, where's this going? Like, I was just stunned. And a lot of people said they saw the twist coming. I didn't. Like the whole thing with like his daughter and stuff like that. I didn't see that coming.
I didn't.
Yeah, but no, that movie like blew me away. And I will say like it's one of those things that it was kind of that first watch like I was like on cloud 9 and I've kind of came down a little bit and I will say it's not his best movie, but yeah, no, I really liked it, and shout out Matt Damon kind of being the surprise villain. That was pretty cool. But yeah, it's definitely an A for me. I think it's just another good movie in the Christopher Nolan library. But that's all I have to say.
Go ahead, Blake.
I mean, yeah, it's. I think it's a really good movie. I didn't love it as much as Interstellar, and I don't think it's fair to compare it to his Batman movies. Um, apparently,
You mean not as good as Inception?
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I meant Inception. Yeah, I didn't love it as much as I did Inception, and I wouldn't compare it. Sorry, I'm getting really stuffed up to his Batman films, but apparently online, like it is only gaining more and more appreciation. Like people like really love this movie now, especially the score to it, Hans Zimmer's score.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thankful that Matthew McConaughey, outgrew the whole silly uh, romantic comedies and wanted to
Yes.
do more serious roles. I'm glad. Like that was one of my favorite, I guess, not twist endings, but twists to this decade. Is Matthew McConaughey is actually a really, really good actor. He was just doing
Hmm.
easy roles before. And another movie of his recently that I hear is actually will be really should deserves to be reconsidered in time is that movie Serenity that he did with Anne Hathaway. Like apparently, like that's like some people may not like it, but like apparently it's actually really different to the point where it's admirable. But yeah, Interstellar, it's great. It's great.
All right, next movie, The Interview. Yeah, I've only seen this one once, and I feel like the hype, or I should say controversy surrounding this movie was like the biggest reason why it got as popular as it did. Because the movie itself is kind of all right. It's okay. Um, it's a slightly more intelligent Your Highness, I feel like. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just a goofy movie that pokes fun at one of the world's worst dictators right now. And it was really kind of jarring to me to find out that a lot of the propaganda that they portray in the movie turns out to actually be legit propaganda that the actual North Korea peddles, specifically the one about him not having a butthole. Um, that really blew me away. That's an actual like thing that they tell people over there.
That's
Um,
so weird.
that Kim Jong Un does not have a butthole. Um, I feel like considering like knowing that his sister is like basically the one in charge of his cult of personality and his propaganda over there. I feel like she did that to fuck with him. Um, but yeah, it's. I mean, I like don't really remember a whole lot from this movie other than like just goofy shit like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it to you, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the thing with this movie was like the hype and the build up, at the time it was like the Seth Rogen and James Franco train was like, on full speed and everybody loved them.
And North Korea said they were gonna bomb us if we showed the movie in theaters.
Yeah, yeah, it was like they were gonna knock the train off the rails. But yeah, it's just that they were just, yeah, it was kind of like, oh, like, are they gonna keep it in theaters? Are they not gonna keep it in theaters? And then they're like, oh, we're not gonna put it in theaters, but then it just goes straight to Netflix.
Right.
But the thing is, if Tom if North Korea was so like, oh, you can't distribute this movie or we're gonna bomb you, it's like, well, every Tom, Dick, and Harry has fucking Netflix, so it's like, what are you scared of?
Hmm.
So I don't know, whatever. Like, I don't know. North Korea can suck a fuck, but um, it's like I wish Kim Jong Un's fate was actually like in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hashtag blow up Kim Jong Un.
Jesus Christ.
To the sounds of Katy Perry.
Yeah, yes, yes, be playing firework. Yeah, but the problem is like for the scuffle and fuss that this movie generated, it's definitely not their best.
Mm-mm.
There are things I like about it. I think the very beginning is probably the funniest, like with James Franco like interviewing celebrities, like when Rob Lowe like takes off his like hair. They said someone says his head looks like a taint.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah. And then like Eminem, like it's all like fake shit. Like Eminem like comes out of the closet.
I
Uh,
think the real Slim Shady just stood up.
yeah. And they even like, and the cool thing was too, like that's not in the movie, but they even like filmed more of those and like put them on YouTube and shit. Like I remember there was like one for uh why am I forgetting her name?
Iggy Azalea.
Iggy Azalea. Yeah, yeah, that's bad. Yeah, forgot her name because she was a fucking flavor of the month. But she that was pretty funny. He was kind of like, poking fun at her Australian accent and shit like that. But yeah, the bulk of the movie is not that memorable. It was all right, you know. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
Go ahead, Blake.
I Yeah, it's just one of those movies where I don't have too much to say other than I laughed. I laughed a handful of times. It's not This Is the End or even Pineapple Express to me. Um, and yeah, no, it's a relic of it's a very obscure relic. I will say that.
Yeah.
So moving on.
All right. Well, we'll move on to our last movie of the evening, The Hobbit: The Battle of the Five Armies. The thing that sticks out the most to me about The Hobbit: Battle of the Five Armies is the fucking smelly bastard that was sitting in front of me during the whole movie. Um,
And
I
I know who you're talking about.
I wanted to see Middle Earth, not fucking smell it. Um, God, what a smelly fucking bitch.
Jesus.
But anyway, the movie itself, the movie itself,
You could smell the Shire sausages.
ugh, ugh,
I'd give anything for a whiff of old Toby.
ugh. But the movie itself, and we've talked about it, we've touched on it briefly before throughout these episodes when we've mentioned the Hobbit movies in general, just how much of a kind of a mess they were. Um, just kind of feel bad for how Warner Brothers like really put the pressure on Peter Jackson during these movies. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, looking back at the franchise, I mean, the first one was decent. The second one, I think, is the best of the three, and this one's just like an absolute mess. It's, I mean, first off, they shouldn't have been three movies to begin with, but this one's just a mess. I mean, I give it credit for Bilbo actually partaking in the battle, unlike the book where he literally gets knocked out 2 minutes into it and does not participate at all. Um, but yeah, other than that, like it's just this movie didn't need to exist. And afterwards, I just remember being like, man, I can't believe I paid money to watch like three of these fucking movies. Um, yeah, they really just should have split The Hobbit into two movies and had like the first movie end with the death of Smaug, and then the second movie be the Battle of the Five Armies, and they should have made the Battle of the Five Armies more interesting as well. But yeah, like I haven't seen any of these movies since we saw them in theaters, and like I just remember all of them just being very flawed in their own special ways. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it to you, Mike.
Um. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah, the Hobbit movies probably definitely should have just been two movies. I mean, I understand like really the funny thing is like out of all the books, like the Hobbit is the shortest,
Yeah,
and like the Lord of the Rings, like it's three books, three movies, but they took one book that was shorter than all the other singular books and made it into three movies, and you can really feel it.
yeah,
But if you were gonna like stretch it out and add shit or whatever, two's okay. But yeah, three was just pushing it. But I don't blame Peter Jackson for that. That was all definitely like Warner Brothers and shit.
mm-hmm.
They wanted another trilogy, but it's like there's nothing to do. He didn't even want to do the fucking Hobbit movies. He
Mm-hmm.
was just gonna like write and produce it, but Guillermo del Toro had to drop out, so he kind of like had no fucking choice. But I will say the funny thing is they're and I don't want to recommend people to watch the extended Battle of the Five Armies because if they feel like they couldn't sit through the normal one, why watch an extended version? But there's a really cool scene in the extended version where like the dwarves are like riding this carriage that's being pulled by rams, and they have this like fucking like repeating crossbow like turn on it, and they just do it. There's a couple action things in the extended version that are pretty cool, and I don't remember if it's in the original one, but one of the dwarves like rides one of those like trolls that like his arms are like chain maces and shit. I don't remember if that's in the original one, but that was pretty cool. But yeah, one of the things that actually sticks out to me. I remember being in the movie theater with you guys, and you actually said it, Donnie. It was the scene where that bridge collapses, and it's just obviously CGI, and like fucking Legolas is just running on falling blocks, and you just go, okay. It's like yeah, they got a little too ridiculous with the CG in this movie, but yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It just should have been the end of the second movie and not a third movie. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's all I have to say about it.
Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, I just my memory of this movie is just what happened with us in the theater around it. I remember Donnie Donnie with that unpleasant smell, so he had his nose shoved in an icy cup the whole time, just to get
I
another.
I had my like sleeve over my face for a good bit.
And even my girlfriend at the time had like one of those little pocket hand sanitizers from Claire's or whatever. So she just kept sniffing that. It's just everybody was like jerry rigging their own way to make another scent right in front of their face. Um, and yeah, you had Donnie watching Legolas do like a Super Mario on the rubble, and it just be like, "Yeah, okay." And finally, but no, two more things. Is like, you had this was another thing Donnie said was, "Wow, Christopher Lee's stunt double is awesome in this movie."
Yeah.
Because he's like spinning around and like whacking with his staff and stuff, and it's like, yeah, that's
Yeah,
definitely not Christopher Lee because he would have like detached his entire
yeah, no, like
torso from his hip and died.
Yeah.
well, no, like Christopher Lee was like probably fucking dying when they filmed this movie.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but and then finally you had these two teenage girls in the row in front of us that they weren't with the guy that was very smelly, but you had these two teenage girls that were like, I guess, super fans or whatever, and it's the scene where one of the dwarves is dying and they're both crying and they're both trying to comfort each other and they just press their foreheads against each other and that fucking murdered Michael and Trevor.
Oh
Like,
my
yeah,
god, I forgot about that.
they're like so sad that like Oakenshield was passing away or whatever. They just pressed their foreheads against each other. This is like, are we really getting into this that much? Like,
God, it's like we were at a fucking Brony concert.
other than that, I have absolutely nothing to say about this movie.
All right. That takes care of movies. We're going to move on to TV of 2014. I'm going to start with shows that began in 2014. I'm just going to run through the list here as usual. TV shows that started in 2014, Broad City. I enjoyed Broad City. I only watched it for like the first couple seasons. The last maybe like 2 seasons I didn't catch, but I remember enjoying it and just enjoying that uh, those two actresses like particular brand of humor and just their dynamic with each other. And probably my favorite episode is the one episode where Abby has to cover for Alana at her like shift at the co-op grocery store. So she like pretends to be Alana, like tries to act like her, like how she perceives her best friend. It's just a really funny episode. Um, Basically going like, okay, you act like me, and just like how do you see me kind of deal.
Yeah,
Um, Another show that premiered in 2014, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. Um, I mean, I remember when Jon Stewart announced he was leaving The Daily Show, I was like, man, I really hope John Oliver takes over, but he didn't. But he got his own show anyway, which is just as good. Um, last week tonight, like, you don't even have to watch a full episode. Just go like on the YouTube channel and watch like the highlight of like whatever the big topic was for the weekend. It's always a great time. It's always a great time. Um, and then another show that started in 2014, Black Jesus. Yeah, just the fact that that show exists is just a fucking blessing. Please, I'm pretty sure it's still on Hulu, but please go on Hulu and just watch some Black Jesus. It's such a great show. It's such a great show, and it's just, oh, I love it. Just the idea of Jesus has come back as a black man in the projects of Compton.
It's what we need.
Another show that started in 2014, Blackish. I recently started watching this show like last year, and I fucking fell in love with it immediately. I am sad to hear that they're gonna do one more season and then wrap it up. The next season's gonna be the last one, but I fucking love this show. I love Anthony Anderson and just his dynamic with his whole family in this show. Like I love it. Um, like seriously, every episode has me fucking laughing to the point that I almost break a fucking rib. And then another show that started in 2014, True Detective. I have not watched any of this show, but I remember it being talked about quite a bit during this time. But it's weird because it was talked about for quite a bit for a little while, and then it just disappeared. And like, I don't even know when it ended.
But
But
it technically hasn't ended. It's just each season is its own story with different characters.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I haven't watched a single episode of this show. I know nothing about it. I just remember it being talked about quite a bit. So that's the shows that started in 2014. So go ahead, Mike.
Um, so besides True Detective, I have not seen a single episode of any of these shows
I mean,
at all.
you should definitely watch Blackish at the very least. Like that, it's on Hulu and it's a really funny fucking show.
Okay. It's like I definitely have seen commercials for Blackish. Black Jesus, Last Week Tonight in Broad City. I feel like I don't know anything about him at all.
Hmm.
But so I'm sorry I don't have any insight or input into those ones.
Okay.
But True Detective, I haven't seen the second or third season, but it's like an anthology show where like every season is its own story. But the first season of True Detective is some of the greatest television I've ever seen in my life. It is truly a masterpiece. Truly, he was a true detective. But yeah, no, Matthew McConaughey, like we were talking about the reconnaissance,
Yeah.
like this is the apex of it. Like as much as I love Interstellar and like I know he won an Oscar for Dallas Buyers Club, but like you want to see Matthew McConaughey like at his A game and like bring you to tears, like you watch True Detective. Like True Detective is the greatest cop drama story ever.
Yeah.
Like it's I can't commend it enough. Like I bought it on a whim and I do not regret it. And I remember it was just me, Blake, and Kogel when we went to Blake's old house. And we were like, oh, I have it on DVD. It's like we could watch like an episode or two and see if you guys like it and you guys can check it out in your spare time. And we just could not stop watching it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, they're like, you guys were kind of like, oh, I kind of want to watch another one, and then like 3 episodes pass, and it's like, oh, you wanna do something else, or it's like, oh no, I kind of want to watch another one. And we just, it was literally like nighttime, and it's like, well, we only got 2 episodes left, might as well.
Yeah.
We literally just, I mean, the season's not long. It was like what, like 7 hour episodes.
It was like 7 or 8, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and each was like an hour. So it was like if you had the time, you could watch it in a day. But yeah, no, it's totally worth it. Yeah, flying colors. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
Go ahead, Blake.
Broad City, I've only seen a few episodes, but it's funny. I'm totally willing to watch more in the future. Black Jesus, the thing I just couldn't get over about that show, that title, and you know, when that trailer first came out, I was just in stitches laughing at the sheer fact, the sheer concept that this was a show that was about to exist. Like, they made a show called Black Jesus. And they had the perfect actor for it,
Yep.
for their flavor of comedy. The guy from the Decode videos on YouTube.
Fucking love
And
that dude.
yeah, I mean, and he's also, and even though Grand Theft Auto 5 came out in 2013, this randomly became a meme earlier this year or last year. Was that one scene where his character from GTA 5 says, maybe if you got rid of that old yee ass haircut.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
like,
the best one was the Sonic one.
yes,
No,
yes.
the best one is the Kermit the Frog one.
Yeah, that murdered Donnie. Um, Blackish, I've only seen a few episodes. The one that sticks out is, because Lawrence Fishburne is his father,
Hmm.
and Anthony Anderson, Lawrence Fishburne have this like ideological debate between like, is it okay to still whoop your kids' ass?
Yeah,
And
that's a great episode.
his son misbehaves in the store, and it's like, no, you do what you got the OG Hot Wheels track, the orange track to the ass. And instead Anthony Anderson takes like a very modern, honest approach where he just sits his son down and says, I am so disappointed in you. And his son starts having like a breakdown in an episode and just runs away, like screaming and crying and like terrible. And his father, Lars Fishburne, goes, what did you do? And he goes, I told him I was disappointed in him. And he goes, I told you to whip his ass, not break his heart. How like his words were more powerful than that Hot Wheels track. And
That's how it goes.
yeah, that was a good one. Last Week Tonight with John Oliver is one of my all-time favorite shows. I love it more than, with all due respect, I love it more than I ever loved The Daily Show. It's just, each episode is like taking a class, and he is a teacher, and it truly is that line from Jingle All the Way with Belushi, where he's like, it's fun and educational. Like, that show truly is that, like, it's fun and
it
educational.
manages to make that perfect balance between, it's not a news show, it's a news analyze show. It analyzes the news, but it manages to analyze the news without being biased. Like, I mean, we all know which direction John Oliver leans politically, but he manages to back up what he's analyzing with, resources and evidence and
Right,
proof.
right, and he's able to inject humor in these subjects, but it never comes off tone deaf. It
Hmm.
never comes off like, oh wow, that was bad timing, or like whatever. Like, his episode about the Confederacy had some of the best jokes I had heard that year, from anything. And but yeah, no, it's I've learned more from John Oliver than half the fucking people that taught at our middle school.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, so
For real.
Michael, I will send you some of my favorite main stories from the series. Like, they're on YouTube, and each one is maybe only like 20 minutes long, but I'll send you like my personal top 5, and you should watch those later.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's a great show. I'm extremely thankful and grateful for its existence. True Detective, I mean, I just have to second everything Michael said about it. It is masterful. It is Matthew McConaughey's best. And yeah, I mean, I can gush over the whole series, but it's just, and it was by a very talented filmmaker, Cary Fukunaga, who almost did the It remake, and I guess I'll always
Mhm.
wonder what his version would have been more like. And he's doing the new James Bond movie, which like people are like, oh yeah, like that guy. I'm like, yeah, no, like if that guy needs to redeem us from Spectre, and it's him.
Yeah.
Um, but as far as
Did
Detective,
did you see season 2 and 3?
I did not. I did not.
Me
He
neither.
didn't. He didn't do those though. He didn't
No,
do.
it was always different people.
But I heard season 2 is kind of a stinker, and season 3 with Mahershala Ali is actually decent, but like they still haven't topped that for a season. And And again, I could gush over the whole season, but like one scene that I find just really powerful, especially now, is it's one of it's when Matthew McConaughey's being interviewed, or well, yeah, not interviewed, not really interrogated, but he's being interviewed in the future or present day, because most of the show that we see where they're partners, that's in the past, that's all the past tense. But it's him sitting down talking to those detectives, and he's talking about when his daughter died. His daughter died in a car accident, and he was saying, my wife and I lived, but she didn't make it. But my daughter, she only knew what it was like to be a kid. She didn't have to grow up to see how ugly the world could be and how horrible people could be to each other. So in a way, she was the lucky one. And I mean, it is probably one of the heaviest scenes I have ever seen in a TV show, but it is so goddamn powerful. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like, I forget if he won an Emmy for that, but fuck, he
I
should
don't
have.
remember. I don't
I don't
remember.
I don't remember, but he should have, because that it's like what Donnie said. And I'm wrapping it up here with this comment. It's like what Donnie says about Terminator 2 Judgment Day. It is so painfully close to being perfect. It's almost agonizing. And
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
yeah, so I will leave it at that.
All right, well then we'll move on to TV shows that ended in 2014. I only got 3 of them here. How I Met Your Mother. I wasn't a fan of the show really. I only watched like a couple episodes here and there during its entire run, but I just remember how much of a fucking slap in the face that series finale was to people who followed the show from the beginning. Um, I don't think I can think of another TV series like finale that is a bigger middle finger than that one.
Maybe
Um,
Dexter.
maybe, but that I don't know. I still would have to give it to How I Met Your Mother, but
I actually don't know what happened to Dexter, so.
well, Dee Dee finally spilled the beans on his lab. But second show that ended it in 2014 was the Colbert Report. It's really, that show ending really was like the end of an era in terms of late night television. Um, but of course, Colbert went on and to do his own show, and he got to stop playing opposite day for once. Um,
Yeah.
it, it was really funny watching the Colbert Report, just watching like Stephen Colbert portray this character of just like this gullible, clueless, like right winger, and I mean, it was a classic character, and watching that show end, it was just like, wow, what happens now? And Comedy Central has tried to like recapture that, like that the magic of that show ever since it ended, and they just have not been able to do it. I mean, they got Trevor Noah to replace Jon Stewart on the Daily Show, and Trevor Noah has been doing like a great job as host of the Daily Show, but they just have not been able to find a suitable replacement for the Colbert Report. Um, and the final show I got that ended in 2014 is The Legend of Korra. I finally watched all of The Legend of Korra last year. I only ever watched the first season originally, and part of the problem with this show was Nickelodeon kept like they didn't promote it like hardly at all after that first season. They kept changing like the airtime of it, so like it just people had a hard time keeping up with it and knowing when it was actually on, which caused the ratings to decline, which caused Nickelodeon to justify canceling it, which is a shame. I feel like The Legend of Korra doesn't get enough love in general. It's honestly a really good show, especially that third season. Holy fuck, that third season fucks. But I think it's a great show. I think it's definitely a worthy successor to The Last Airbender. And I am glad to see that Nickelodeon like is doing something with the Last Airbender universe. Like they made Avatar Studios and they have the creators of that franchise working on some more projects. So I'll be interested to see what turns out there. But go ahead and pass it on to you, Mike.
Okay, let's see here. So, I'm pretty well, you said you didn't really watch How I Met Your Mother. I don't think Blake really did either, right?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, I
I
will say
a little bit, but not much.
I will say that I was a sucker for How I Met Your Mother. I was totally invested in the show. I watched it. I didn't watch it when it aired. Like when it was like just about to end, and I was like breezing through it on Netflix, and I was invested. I thought this was a legitimate, like, funny but heartwarming show. I fucking love Neil Patrick Harris in that show as Barney. I don't know what it is. It was just so funny that like Neil Patrick Harris is like, as a gay man, he is playing, ironically, he's playing the most like stereotypical, like goofy, like kind of chauvinist, a little chauvinistic, like kind of like dumb, but he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, like ladies man. And like he's just so funny. And the funny thing is, one of the funny jokes I thought was funny is that Wayne Brady, who is a straight man,
Yeah.
plays his brother in it, and he's gay.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of funny, like a kind of wink. But no, I was so invested in the show, and like I love Jason Segel. He was in it, and but yeah, like the whole point of the show was How I Met Your Mother. But I feel like they kind of wrote themselves into a corner because they're like doing the thing where we can't talk about the mom until the very end. So really, this whole show isn't about How I Met Your Mother. It's more about how I'm hanging out with my friends and blah blah blah. And but like the season beforehand, they have like the season finale where you finally see the mom. And so I'm thinking, okay, so the final season's going to be like dedicated to, him, meeting the mom and like I guess going on dates and showing how they got married and having kids and so on. No, 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 literally the whole last season, except for like the last episode, takes place in one day. I shit you not. It takes place in one day, and it's during like Barney and Robin's wedding. And it just they have like one episode where they show flashbacks, like they should have like a whole episode dedicated to the mom's like flashbacks, and that's the only development they give for her. And then literally the last episode's just, oh well, the whole season's been about Barney and Robin's wedding, but they fast forward and they got a divorce a couple years later. And then you find out that the mom died, and they're like, "Oh, the whole show is about Ted being with Robin," even though the whole show like shoved down your throat that him and Robin aren't going to work out because the mom's coming. And it just I don't know. It 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 was it was a big whiff,
Yeah.
but but yeah, let me see here. The Colbert Report. The Colbert Report. I watched some of it. I always thought Stephen Colbert was really funny. Um, the thing that always got on my nerves is the people who thought like it was real, like it wasn't satire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I remember like crazy conservative people like liking Stephen Colbert. It's like you do realize like he's making fun of you, right?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
But I will say at that time, like not so much 2014, but like when I was younger, I didn't really watch a lot of talk shows because I was an immature asshole. I didn't give a shit about what was going on in the world. I'll be honest. I watched a little bit of the Colbert Report and the Daily Show every now and then, but I didn't watch it as much as I want to in hindsight. But and Legend of Korra, I know it's gonna break your guys' heart. I've never watched Avatar: The Legend of Korra.
Mm.
I know. That's another one I need to sit down and just breeze through it because I've heard amazing things about both of them.
Well, they're both on Netflix, so.
Oh, I forgot about that. I'll have to watch them. But yeah, nope, that's pretty much it for me.
Go
There
ahead,
wasn't
Blake.
another one, was there?
Nope, that was it.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, the Colbert Report. I second everything Michael said. Like a great Rorschach test, especially the people be like, "Wow, Stephen Colbert in this recent episode, you really hit the nail on the head." And it's like, "Wow, you're an idiot."
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Yeah, The Legend of Korra. I haven't seen it yet, but I will eventually. I promise. And then How I Met Your Mother. Yeah, other than everything that's already been said about like the finale and how that was set up, I watched like a handful of episodes. I could probably count the full episodes I had seen on one hand, literally. And it's okay. It's just this group of friends just it didn't do it for me. Like I have no beef with it. I'm not going to put it down or anything, but it just didn't really do it for me. These people. I mean, it's not like that '70s show where I watch it. I'm like, wow, I fucking hate all of you. Um, but
I feel like that's a pattern with me. Is like because I fucking love that '70s show, and like you were just not digging it when I showed it to you.
no, I just it's just like I understand how some of the jokes would be funny, but like I get pissed off when I watch it because I'm like, you people are the worst fucking friends ever. Like, why do you hang out with each other? Um, but
Hey, it's fun to fuck with your friends sometimes.
um, but then with How I Met Your Mother, like Barney and Jason Segel and the lady that was in Joss Whedon stuff, like they're fine. But
Yeah.
I can't stand Ted. He is a whiny little pussy bitch boy, and it
Yeah.
drives me nuts. Like I see his face, and I'm like, wow, like I'm not even a woman, and I'm drying up just looking at you. Like I can't imagine anyone falling in love with you because all you fucking do is whine. I say this in a very whiny way right now, so I apologize. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Michael, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, yeah, it's kind of funny that yeah, the show is literally about him and he's not the best part. So
No, no.
yeah.
Which I didn't mean to sound all like alpha male there, being like man up or whatever. Like, I just think he's annoying. He's too whiny for me. And again, I say that in a whiny way right now, but whatever. Let's just move on.
All right, well, we'll close out the night with music. 2014, just a couple songs that were popular at the time. First one, I got Chandelier by Sia. I don't care for this song at all. Like, I don't really care for any song that's like shouted at me as opposed to being actually sung. Um, I also feel like Sia writes music for people whose only personality trait is that they do drugs. Um, and I feel like this song is the epitome of that, especially that fucking music video. Um,
Or at the very least, like you're in a toxic relationship.
yeah. Shake It Off by Taylor Swift. What a bop. Um, you hear it, it's stuck in your head for like a week. And that was also the song that like I mean Taylor Swift was starting to like really pick up some steam before that, but I feel like this was the one that like really catapulted her to where she's at now.
Yeah.
And then Anaconda by Nicki Minaj, the song that walked so WAP could run. Um, this song came out and everybody lost their fucking mind for multiple reasons, and I was just like, my only response was, man, it's not even that good of a song. Like,
Well, the hype around this song was really the music video.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
but even that, I was just like, y'all never watched porn before? Like,
Yeah, I know,
I
right?
mean, ain't nothing I haven't seen before. That's all I gotta say. Go ahead, Mike.
Um, I honestly don't remember this Chandelier song. I probably remember if I heard it, but I have no idea what it is.
Like I said, it's a song that's shouted at you more than anything.
Yeah, Shake It Off. Yeah, Shake It Off was that's a it's a catchy tune. Catchy tune. It's in I mean it's been established that yeah, a lot of the guys here we like the modern Taylor Swift and like, a lot of people they say hey, they miss country Taylor Swift and it's like I'm fine with the more poppy Taylor Swift and yeah, this is one of the good ones.
Def Leppard
Um
sucks.
Def Leppard sucks. But uh yeah, Anaconda just that song kind of got on my nerves because I just feel like Nicki Minaj was acting like she was reinventing the wheel, but like it's
Yeah,
80% a Sir Mix-a-Lot song, so I'm just
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
you're shaking your ass to an old song that's like has a little bit of dubstep in it. Like I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
The best thing to come out of this song was the fart version. where literally the whole like clip of the music video, and when everybody's twerking, it's just making fart noises. And then, especially when she's like giving Drake the lap dance, she just sounds like she's taking a giant shit on him. And then when she walks away and like Drake like puts his hands in his face, like it just makes it even funnier. And it was so big and funny that it got taken down because Nicki Minaj got pissed.
She did and this will be the only thing I have to say about this song. She did a copyright claim on it, which Nicki Minaj, you should receive a copyright claim from Sir Mix-a-Lot because you basically just stole his song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she got mad over like, oh wow, they stole my song. It's like the song itself is stolen already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's all I have to say about that.
Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, I have absolutely no opinion whatsoever on Chandelier. But Shake It Off, and especially the album of 1989, the whole album is a bop. I mean, I love that album. When I was first aware of Taylor Swift in 2009, I was like, yeah, she doesn't do it for me. Like, I'm not into this. Taylor Swift today, at your service, my queen. But no, I love modern Taylor Swift, and
My favorite Taylor Swift moment is still when she was at that awards show with Bruno Mars and he was dressed in all green. Looked like a goddamn
He looked
leprechaun.
like yeah, because he's like half her fucking height.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But no, I love Shake It Off, and I love that album. I am very grateful for modern Taylor Swift, a genius, and also like
A boss
uh,
bitch.
a boss bitch, like a master of the power play. She announces the new re-release of the album Red on Scooter Braun's birthday, just to ruin his birthday. Like I'm sorry, that's awesome. But
Biggest boss
yeah,
move since Prince got out of his contract with Warner Brothers.
yep, yeah. So no, like I am very much on board with Poppy Taylor Swift.
Poppy Taylor Swift. So,
As in I
daddy.
Poppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daddy Taylor Swift.
She's not mommy, she's daddy.
Hey, you ain't a shitting.
She wears the pants.
All right, well, that's our show tonight. Great episode tonight, guys. Thanks for being on the show tonight, Michael. It's always great to have you here.
No problemo.
But if you tuned in late or missed this episode, it'll be live on all the fun streaming services tomorrow: Spotify, Pandora, Apple, Google. Also be on, well, we're already on YouTube, but it'll still be on YouTube come tomorrow if you missed it. So you can follow the Fat Minute at Fat Minute Radio on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can follow me on all that stuff as well at Don John Laughs. And be sure to follow Blake at Puka Saucy. And on that note, thank you, fuck you, goodbye.